This video was made thanks to this awesome request. Thank you for the title suggestion, and happy watching. Before we dive into the story, let's first get to know the magical world of Fablehaven. Fablehaven is a famous fantasy novel series written by Brandon Mall. In this world, Fablehaven isn't just a normal forest, it is one of the last secret sanctuaries hidden around the world to prevent magical creatures from going extinct. Governed by strict rules and magical boundaries, it serves as a haven and sometimes a prison for fairies, imps, giants, witches, demons, and dragons. Normal humans can't see these creatures unless they drink mystical cow milk to unlock shadow sight. Managed by caretakers known as keepers, Fablehaven is a realm where ancient artifacts hold immense power, and a single broken rule can unleash catastrophic danger.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Awakens. If you're a fan of My Hero Academia, especially awesome fanfiction stories all about Deku, you're definitely in the right place. Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow anime fans, and subscribe so you never miss a new upload. Also, if you have an awesome idea or title for the next fanfiction video, drop it in the comment below. I'd love to read your suggestions. And hey, if you want to support the channel even more and keep me extra motivated to create awesome content, consider joining our channel membership. By becoming a member, you'll unlock cool perks like exclusive loyalty badges and custom stickers you can use in the comments. If you've already joined, thank you so much. Your support truly means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Alright, let's get right into the story.
The battlefield was already falling apart. Izuku Midoriya barely had time to breathe before another shockwave tore across the ruined street. Boom! He raised his arm and blocked a wave of debris with blackwhip, catching chunks of concrete before they could strike the people behind him. Everyone, move back! His voice was almost drowned out by another explosion. The enemy stood on the opposite side of the battlefield, surrounded by distorted energy. The air around them looked broken, as if someone had taken a knife to the sky and cut it open. Izuku narrowed his eyes. That wasn't a quirk. At least, not one he recognized. Danger sense suddenly screamed inside his head. Izuku jumped. A massive crack appeared where he had been standing. What is that? The crack widened. Light poured through it. The battlefield disappeared behind a wall of swirling energy. Izuku activated Float and Blackwhip at the same time, trying to stabilize himself. It didn't work. The pull from the distortion became stronger. No, no, no. He fired Blackwhip toward a nearby building. The tendrils wrapped around a steel beam. For a moment, he stopped moving. Then the beam tore loose. Crack. Izuku's eyes widened. You're kidding. The distortion swallowed him. There was no ground, no sky, no sound. Izuku felt as if he were falling through an endless tunnel. His body spun uncontrollably. He tried to activate Blackwhip again, but the energy around him disrupted his control. Danger sense continued warning him. Not about an enemy, about everything. The entire space felt wrong. Izuku clenched his teeth. Come on. He tried to use FA Gen. Nothing. Gearshift. Nothing. Then something appeared ahead. A small point of light. It grew larger, 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 until it became a bright opening surrounded by mist. Izuku flew through it. Crash. Izuku hit the forest floor hard. Leaves and dirt flew everywhere. He rolled several meters before stopping against a tree. For several seconds, he didn't move. A bird-like creature watched him from a branch. Izuku slowly opened his eyes. Ow! He pushed himself upright. His costume was damaged, but his body was fine. He checked his arms, then his legs, then his head. Nothing broken. Okay. He looked around. Trees surrounded him in every direction. There were no buildings, no roads, no distant city noises, only wind, and something else. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Danger sense pulsed. He immediately stood. Something was nearby. He turned toward the trees. Nothing. He looked behind him. Nothing. Then a small creature flew between the branches. Izuku froze. It looked like a tiny person with wings. He stared. The creature stared back. Then it disappeared into the leaves. Izuku blinked. That wasn't a bird. Another pulse of danger sense struck him. Izuku turned toward the opposite side of the forest. There was something watching him. He couldn't see it, but he could feel it. His body automatically shifted into a defensive stance. Who's there? No answer. A low growl came from the bushes. Roar. Izuku raised his fist. The bushes shook. A large creature stepped out. It looked like a wolf. Except it was much larger than any wolf Izuku had ever seen. Its eyes glowed faintly. Izuku didn't move. The creature stared at him. Then it suddenly lowered its head. Izuku blinked. You're not attacking. The creature sniffed the air around him. Then it backed away. Izuku slowly lowered his fist. That's new. He looked around again. The forest was strange. Very strange. There were flowers that seemed to glow faintly beneath the shade. Small winged creatures moved between branches. Something enormous moved far away behind the trees. Izuku couldn't see it clearly, but he heard its footsteps. Boom. The ground trembled. Izuku swallowed. Okay. He looked toward the direction from which he had come. There was no portal, no crack, nothing. Great. He pulled out his phone. No signal. Of course. He tried again. Nothing. Izuku sighed and put it away. Then danger sense pulsed again. This time, the warning came from above. Izuku looked up. A large creature was flying between the trees. It had wings like a bird but the body of something far larger. Izuku watched it disappear into the distance. His mind immediately began analyzing. Unknown species. Possible magical mutation. Wingspan around. He stopped. Magical. Izuku stared at the forest. He had fought villains with strange quirks before. He had seen mutant-type quirks. But this was different. The creature hadn't produced a quirk signature he recognized. There was something else in the air. Something he couldn't explain. Izuku activated One for All. Green lightning crawled across his body. The forest suddenly became very quiet. The wolf-like creature immediately backed away. The tiny winged creatures vanished into the trees. Izuku looked at his hands. His body felt different. Stronger. Not physically stronger than before. He was already at his peak. But the full power of One for All flowed through him without the restrictions that had once forced him to carefully control every movement. All of the inherited quirks were still there. Blackwhip, Float, Danger Sense, Smokescreen, Fa Jin, Gearshift, and the overwhelming power of One for All itself. Izuku released the energy. The forest became quiet again. At least I still have my quirks. He looked toward the trees. Now I just need to figure out where I am. Several hundred meters away, two figures were walking through the forest. Kendra Sorenson stopped suddenly. Seth nearly walked into her. What? Kendra raised a hand. Did you feel that? Seth looked around. Feel what? Something. She stared between the trees. The forest had become unusually quiet. Even the fairies had disappeared. Seth frowned. Maybe it's another creature. Kendra shook her head. Not like this. They continued carefully. After several minutes, they reached a clearing. Kendra stopped. Seth stared. Someone was standing in the middle of the clearing. A boy. Green hair. Strange clothes. White gloves. He was looking at the sky as if he had absolutely no idea where he was. Seth whispered. Who is that? Kendra didn't answer. The boy suddenly turned. His eyes locked onto them. Danger sense had warned Izuku before he even saw them. He didn't attack. Instead, he raised one hand. Hello. Kendra and Seth stared at him. Izuku gave an awkward smile. I'm not looking for trouble. Seth glanced at Kendra. That's exactly what someone looking for trouble would say. Izuku sighed. Fair point. Kendra stepped forward carefully. Who are you? Izuku hesitated. There was no reason to hide his name. Izuku Midoriya. Seth looked him over. What are you doing here? Izuku looked around at the strange forest. Honestly, he pointed upward. I fell through a hole in space. Seth stared at him. What? Yeah. I'm hoping that makes more sense to you than it sounds to me. Kendra looked at his costume. Then at the faint green energy still flickering around his body. You're a wizard. Izuku blinked. A what? Kendra exchanged a glance with Seth. Izuku noticed the reaction. Wait. He looked around again. The glowing plants. The strange creatures. The enormous tracks in the dirt. The winged beings hiding in the trees. His expression slowly changed. This isn't Japan. Kendra shook her head. No. Izuku swallowed. Then where am I? Kendra took a cautious breath. You're in Fablehaven. Izuku stared at her. Fablehaven. Behind them, something growled deep within the forest. Roar. Izuku immediately turned toward the sound. His fists tightened. Kendra noticed the change in his posture. Don't worry. Izuku looked at her. About what? Kendra pointed toward the forest. The creatures. Izuku stared into the darkness. Danger sense pulsed again. He looked back at Kendra. I'm pretty sure the creatures are the least of my problems. Seth frowned. Why? Izuku's eyes remained fixed on the trees. Because something much bigger just noticed me. Far beyond the clearing, a massive pair of eyes opened in the darkness. The massive eyes disappeared before Izuku could see what had created them. He remained still, staring into the trees. Danger sense slowly faded. It moved away. Seth looked at him. How do you know? I can sense danger. Seth frowned. You can sense danger? Yes. Like, you're psychic. No. Then how? Izuku scratched his cheek. It's complicated. Kendra looked at him carefully. You said you fell through a hole in space. That part is simple. And you have strange powers. That part is also simple. And you don't know what Fablehaven is. Correct. Seth crossed his arms. This is getting less believable by the second. Izuku gave him a tired look. Believe me, I'm having a worse day. Kendra almost smiled. She had met strange people before, but there was something unusual about Izuku. He didn't seem hostile. Confused, certainly. Suspicious, definitely, but not dangerous. At least, not intentionally. You should come with us, Kendra said. Izuku looked at her. Where? Somewhere safe. Seth immediately added, assuming you're actually safe. Izuku nodded. Fair enough. They started walking. Izuku stayed between them, constantly scanning the forest. Every few seconds, danger sense gave him a faint warning. Nothing strong. Nothing attacking. Just countless unfamiliar presences. He could feel them hiding behind trees, moving through bushes, flying above the canopy. Izuku's eyes widened. There are a lot of them. Kendra glanced at him. You can really sense them. Yes. How many? Izuku paused. I don't know. Dozens. Seth looked around. I don't see anything. Neither do I. Then how can you tell? Izuku pointed toward a bush. Something is behind that. Seth stepped closer. The bush moved. Seth jumped back. See. A tiny creature suddenly flew out of the leaves. It had translucent wings and a small body covered in glittering dust. Seth stared. Okay. He slowly looked at Izuku. I believe you. Izuku nodded. Good. The creature flew around Izuku's head. He followed it with his eyes. It's not dangerous. Kendra smiled. That's a fairy. Izuku blinked. An actual fairy. Yes. They're real. You're standing in a magical preserve. Right. Izuku looked at the fairy again. I'm going to need a notebook. Seth groaned. You're taking notes. Of course. They eventually reached a large house surrounded by trees. Izuku stopped at the entrance. This is where you live. Kendra nodded. Yes. Izuku looked around. The property seemed peaceful. Too peaceful. Danger sense still gave him occasional warnings, but nothing immediate. Seth opened the door. Come inside. Izuku stepped in. He barely made it 3 steps before Seth turned around. Wait. Izuku stopped. What? You haven't had magical cow milk. Izuku stared at him. What? Kendra sighed. Seth. What? Don't. He needs it. Izuku looked between them. Needs what? Seth pointed toward the kitchen. Milk. Normal milk. Magical milk. Izuku stared at him. I'm sorry. Kendra explained. The milk from the magical cows helps humans see through certain magical disguises and perceive creatures that they normally wouldn't notice. Izuku looked genuinely confused. So you drink enchanted cow milk to see magic? Basically. Izuku thought about it. Then he shook his head. I don't think I need it. Seth raised an eyebrow. Why? Izuku pointed toward the window. Because I've already seen the fairies. Seth opened his mouth. Then closed it. Kendra looked impressed. You didn't drink the milk. No. And you can still see them. Yes. Seth stared at him. That's not normal. Izuku shrugged. Nothing about today has been normal. A few minutes later, Izuku sat at the kitchen table. A glass of ordinary water rested in front of him. Seth placed a bottle of magical cow milk on the table. Just try it. Izuku looked at the bottle. What happens if I drink it? You might see things you couldn't see before. Might. Kendra nodded. Everyone reacts differently. Izuku stared at the milk. His analytical instincts immediately took over. If the milk contains magical compounds, then technically it should have some sort of physiological effect. Seth looked confused. What? Never mind. Izuku pushed the bottle back. I'll pass. Seth frowned. Why? Because danger sense is already telling me something is wrong with the milk. Kendra looked at the bottle. What? Izuku pointed at it. Not dangerous exactly. Just unusual. Seth slowly took the bottle away. I'm beginning to think your danger sense is really useful. It is. A loud rustling suddenly came from outside. Izuku's expression changed instantly. Danger sense exploded through his mind. He stood. Get away from the window. Kendra and Seth froze. Why? Now. His voice was completely different. Serious. Kendra immediately grabbed Seth and pulled him away. A shadow rushed past the window. Boom. The glass shook. Izuku moved before either of them could react. Blackwhip shot from his arm and wrapped around a nearby wooden beam. He launched himself through the open doorway. Kendra rushed after him. Izuku. He landed outside. 3 creatures were running across the lawn. They looked like small goblin-like animals. One of them was carrying something shiny. Seth pointed. Those are imps. The creatures noticed Izuku. One hissed. Rawr. Izuku lowered his stance. Okay. Green lightning flickered around his body. I don't know what you are. The imps backed away. But you're definitely setting off danger sense. One of them suddenly charged. Izuku disappeared. Crack. He appeared behind it and gently grabbed the creature by the back of its clothing. The imp struggled. Izuku held it at arm's length. You're surprisingly light. The other 2 immediately fled. Kendra stared. Seth's mouth hung open. Izuku looked at the captured imp. So, the imp snarled. Izuku sighed. Yeah. We're probably not going to have a productive conversation. He lowered the creature to the ground. The imp immediately ran away. Izuku didn't chase it. Instead, he looked at Kendra and Seth. Are these things common? Kendra nodded slowly. They can be. And dangerous. Usually more annoying than dangerous. Izuku looked toward the forest where the creatures had disappeared. Then why did my danger sense react so strongly? Kendra's expression changed. She looked toward the trees. Because something else might be nearby. Izuku nodded. That's what I thought. The three of them stood silently. Then a distant roar echoed through the forest. Roar. Birds exploded from the treetops. The ground trembled slightly. Seth swallowed. That's not an imp. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Danger sense pulsed again. This time, much stronger. He stepped forward. Green lightning crawled across his arms. Whatever it is, he looked toward the dark forest. It's coming this way. The roar rolled through the forest again. Roar. Leaves shook above them. Izuku remained in front of Kendra and Seth, his body tense as green lightning flickered around his arms. Danger sense continued pulsing. But something didn't make sense. The warning wasn't coming from the creature alone. There were several smaller signals around them. Izuku glanced toward the trees. We're surrounded. Seth immediately looked around. By what? I'm not sure. Kendra's expression tightened. The imps. Izuku nodded. Probably. A small figure suddenly jumped onto the roof. Then another appeared on a tree branch. Then another. Within seconds, several imps surrounded the house. Seth stepped backward. That's a lot more than before. One of the imps raised a small wooden club. Izuku sighed. I'm guessing they aren't here to welcome me. Probably not, Kendra said. The imp screamed. Roar. The others charged. Izuku moved instantly. Blackwhip erupted from his arm. Crack. The tendrils wrapped around three imps and lifted them off the ground. Got you. The creatures kicked and screamed. Another imp jumped toward Seth. Danger sense flared. Izuku turned. Seth. Blackwhip shot forward. It wrapped around Seth's waist and yanked him backward just as the imp's club struck the ground. Crack. Seth landed on the grass. Whoa. Izuku pulled him behind himself. Stay there. Seth looked at the black tendril wrapped around his waist. You could have warned me before doing that. I did. You shouted my name. That's a warning. That's not a warning. Kendra grabbed Seth's arm. Argue later. Another group of imps rushed toward them. Izuku looked at the creatures. He could easily knock them away. But he didn't know how durable they were. This was their home. He didn't want to hurt creatures simply because they were aggressive. Izuku quickly changed his approach. He released the three imps trapped by Blackwhip. They immediately scattered. Then he jumped backward. Smokescreen. A thick cloud poured from his body. The clearing vanished beneath a gray haze. The imps began shouting in confusion. Seth coughed. What is this? Stay close. Izuku extended Blackwhip. The tendrils wrapped around Kendra and Seth without tightening. I'll get you somewhere safe. Where? Inside. But you're staying outside. Yes. Kendra frowned. You can't fight all of them alone. Izuku looked at her. I don't need to fight them. He glanced toward the trees. I just need to stop them from getting inside. Izuku floated above the clearing. His body rose silently through the smoke. From above, he could see the imps moving around the house. There were more than 20. Some were climbing the walls. Others were searching through the bushes. A few had already reached the front door. Izuku activated danger sense. The strongest warning came from the eastern side. He turned. One particularly large imp was approaching through the smoke. It was carrying a heavy wooden weapon. Izuku narrowed his eyes. There you are. The creature suddenly leapt. Izuku moved sideways. The weapon missed him. Boom. The ground cracked. Izuku stared at the crater. Okay. He floated backward. That one's stronger. The imp roared and jumped again. Izuku activated Fa Jin. His body blurred. He dodged the attack and landed behind the creature. Instead of punching it, he wrapped both legs with Blackwhip. The imp crashed onto the grass. It struggled violently. Hold still. It continued struggling. I'm not trying to hurt you. The imp snarled. Rawr. Yeah. I figured. Izuku tightened Blackwhip just enough to keep it from moving. The other imps watched. Some hesitated. Izuku looked at them. Listen. The imps stared. I don't know why you're attacking this house. One of them pointed toward Seth. Izuku followed the gesture. Seth was holding something. A small object covered in dirt. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Seth. Seth looked up. What are you holding? Seth looked at his hand. This. Kendra immediately noticed it. Seth. I found it outside. Put it down. Seth looked confused. Why? Because they might be after that. Izuku looked at the object. Danger sense gave him a faint warning. Yeah. Seth quickly dropped it. The moment it hit the ground, the imps stopped attacking. Izuku blinked. Well, he looked at Seth. That would have been useful information earlier. Seth scratched his head. Sorry. The larger imp slowly stood. Izuku released it. The creature immediately ran toward the object. It grabbed it and hissed at the others. The remaining imps gathered around it. Then they all retreated toward the forest. Izuku watched them disappear. So they weren't attacking us. Kendra shook her head. Not exactly. They wanted that. Yes. Seth looked embarrassed. I didn't know. Izuku walked over and picked up a broken branch beside the object. He used it to push the strange item farther away. Next time, don't pick up mysterious things in a magical forest. Seth frowned. How was I supposed to know? Izuku gave him a look. You were in a magical forest. Seth opened his mouth, then stopped. Okay. Fair. The smoke slowly disappeared. Kendra stepped outside. Are they gone? Izuku nodded. For now. Seth looked toward the forest. You didn't hurt any of them. I didn't need to. Kendra smiled slightly. That's good. Izuku looked at her. What? Nothing. Before Izuku could ask, another voice came from behind them. What happened here? Everyone turned. An older man stood near the entrance to the house. Izuku immediately noticed the calm expression and the way he observed the clearing. This had to be someone important. Kendra stepped forward. Grandpa. The man looked at her. Then at Seth. Then finally at Izuku. His eyes narrowed. Who is he? Izuku raised one hand. Izuku Midoriya. The man stared at him. And what exactly are you? Izuku hesitated. That's a complicated question. The man looked at the damaged ground. Then at the captured footprints. Then at the fading blackwhip wrapped around Izuku's arm. His expression became more serious. I suspect it is. Izuku glanced toward the forest. I can explain. The man folded his arms. Then start explaining. Izuku took a breath. I fell through a dimensional crack. Silence. Seth looked at Kendra. Kendra looked at her grandfather. The older man stared at Izuku. Dimensional crack. Izuku nodded. Yes. From where? Japan. The man frowned. Japan. Yes. And you expect me to believe that? Izuku shrugged. Honestly, I don't expect anyone to believe it. The man studied him for another moment. Then he noticed something. The green energy around Izuku's body had completely disappeared. You said you came through a dimensional crack. Yes. And you possess abilities I've never seen before. Yes. Including that strange energy. Izuku looked at his hand. One for all. The man frowned. One for what? One for all. Seth whispered. That sounds important. Izuku sighed. It is. The man stepped closer. Then perhaps you should come inside. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Why? Because if you're telling the truth, you may have arrived in Fablehaven for a reason. Izuku looked toward the forest. His danger sense suddenly pulsed. Once. Twice. Then stopped. He looked back at the man. I hope it's a good reason. The man gave him a serious look. In Fablehaven, we rarely get those. The older man led Izuku back toward the house. Kendra and Seth followed behind them, still glancing toward the forest. Izuku kept looking around. Everything about Fablehaven was unfamiliar. The plants, the creatures, even the air felt different. So, Izuku said, you know what happened to me. The older man glanced at him. I know that people do not normally fall out of the sky. That's fair. My name is Stan Sorenson. Izuku nodded. Nice to meet you. Stan stopped walking. Before we go any further, I need to know something. Izuku looked at him. What? Are you dangerous? Izuku thought about it. Only when someone tries to hurt people. Stan studied his expression. That's not exactly reassuring. It's the honest answer. Seth grinned. I like him. Kendra sighed. Of course you do. They barely reached the house before danger sense exploded. Izuku's head snapped toward the forest. Everyone inside. Stan immediately noticed his expression. What is it? Something huge. The ground trembled. Boom. Birds scattered from the trees. Another tremor followed. Boom. Kendra stepped outside. What's happening? Izuku pointed toward the forest. Something is coming. A massive shape broke through the trees. It was made almost entirely of stone. Its body was covered with ancient markings, and its arms were thick enough to crush a car. Seth stared. That's a golem. Izuku blinked. A golem. The creature roared. Roar. Then it charged. Apparently it's an angry golem. The golem swung its enormous fist toward the house. Izuku disappeared. Crack. He appeared directly in front of the fist. Blackwhip shot from both arms. The tendrils wrapped around the golem's wrist. Izuku's feet dug into the ground. Not happening. The golem's fist stopped. The force pushed Izuku backward several meters. His shoes carved lines into the dirt. Stan's eyes widened. He stopped it. Izuku gritted his teeth. This thing is heavy. The golem pulled its arm back. Izuku released Blackwhip and jumped. Float activated. His body rose into the air. The golem looked upward. Izuku hovered above its head. Green lightning began crawling across his body. Kendra looked up. What is he doing? Stan's expression became serious. I don't know. Izuku clenched his fist. He didn't want to destroy the creature. But if the golem continued attacking, someone would get hurt. One for all. The energy around his body intensified. 45%. He pulled his arm backward. Fa Jin activated. Energy stored inside his muscles released at once. The golem raised both arms. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Detroit smash. His fist slammed into the golem's chest. Boom. A massive shockwave tore through the clearing. Trees bent violently. Dust exploded outward. The golem's stone body cracked from the point of impact. Crack. Another crack spread across its chest. Then the entire upper half of the golem shattered. Pieces of stone flew across the clearing. Izuku immediately activated Blackwhip. The tendrils caught the largest pieces before they could strike the house. He pulled them away and dropped them safely onto the ground. Silence returned. Izuku floated down. His shoes touched the dirt. The remaining lower half of the golem stood motionless. Then it collapsed. Boom. Izuku stared at it. I think I overdid it. Seth ran toward him. That was amazing. Kendra grabbed his shoulder. Don't get too close. Seth stopped. Right. Stan walked toward the destroyed golem. He crouched beside one of the broken pieces. This was an ancient guardian. Izuku frowned. Guardian. It wasn't supposed to attack us. Izuku's expression changed. Then why did it? Stan looked toward the forest. That's what concerns me. Izuku followed his gaze. Danger sense was still active. Something felt wrong. It wasn't attacking randomly. Stan looked at him. What do you mean? Izuku pointed toward the golem. It reacted to something. He walked around the broken stone body. There were dark markings along its chest. Izuku crouched. These weren't part of its original design. Stan's eyes widened. How can you tell? The stone around the markings is newer. Izuku touched the surface. Someone altered it. Kendra stepped closer. You think someone made it attack? Izuku nodded. Or controlled it. Stan's expression darkened. That's impossible. Izuku looked at him. You live in a magical preserve filled with fairies, imps, and golems. He pointed at the damaged markings. I think. Impossible. Already left the building. Seth snorted. Kendra covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Even Stan gave him a brief look of amusement. Then the forest became quiet again. Far away, something moved. Izuku's danger sense pulsed. His smile disappeared. Someone is watching us. Stan immediately looked toward the trees. Where? Izuku pointed. There. Nothing was visible. Stan stared for several seconds. Then a small shadow moved behind the branches. It vanished. Izuku activated blackwhip. The tendrils stretched between the trees. Nothing. They're gone. Stan looked at him. Could you catch them? Maybe. But Izuku lowered his arm. Whoever it was didn't want to fight. Stan nodded slowly. Then we have a bigger problem than the golem. Izuku looked at the shattered guardian. Someone is testing the defenses. Kendra looked worried. Why would anyone test Fablehaven? Stan didn't answer. Izuku looked toward the forest again. His eyes narrowed. Because they're planning something. Seth looked at him. Something bad. Izuku nodded. Probably. He glanced at the broken golem. And this was just the first warning. The broken golem remained in the clearing. Izuku stood beside it, examining the dark markings across its shattered stone body. Stan watched him silently. You've seen something like this before? Izuku asked. Not exactly. Stan crouched beside the remains. But I've seen magic used to alter creatures before. Whoever did this wasn't trying to destroy Fablehaven. Izuku looked at him. Then what were they testing? Stan glanced toward the forest. Our response. Izuku nodded. That's what I thought. Kendra looked between them. So someone deliberately sent the golem here. Possibly. Stan said. Izuku stood. Then we should check the perimeter. Stan raised an eyebrow. You've been here less than an hour. And I've already fought a golem. Seth grinned. He has a point. Kendra sighed. Seth. Izuku looked at Stan. I don't know this place, but I know how dangerous unknown threats can become if they're ignored. Stan studied him. You really are a hero, aren't you? Izuku paused. I was training to become one. Were. Izuku looked down at his hands. I don't know where I am anymore. Stan nodded. Fair enough. He turned toward the house. Come with me. Inside, Stan brought Izuku to a large room filled with old books, maps, and strange artifacts. Izuku's eyes immediately widened. You have a lot of books. Seth laughed. He likes books. I noticed. Izuku walked toward a shelf. Some of the titles were written in languages he couldn't recognize. Do these explain Fablehaven? Stan nodded. Some of them. And the creatures? Yes. The magic? Somewhat. Izuku pulled out a thick book. And dimensional travel? Stan stared at him. Very little. Izuku sighed. Figures. He opened the book anyway. Kendra sat across from him. You really want to find a way home? Of course. You have people waiting for you. Izuku nodded. Friends. Teachers. Family. He looked at the pages. I don't know what happened to them after I disappeared. Kendra smiled gently. Then we'll help you find a way back. Izuku looked up. You would. Yes. Seth nodded. You saved us from that golem. Izuku shook his head. Anyone would have done the same. Stan gave him a knowing look. Not everyone could have. Izuku looked away. I just happened to have the right abilities. Stan smiled slightly. That's what makes this interesting. Later that afternoon, Stan brought Izuku outside. The clearing had been repaired as much as possible. Izuku stood in the center while Stan watched from a distance. Show me what you can do. Izuku nodded. He activated One for All. Green lightning flashed around his body. Stan's expression changed immediately. That energy. Izuku moved. In an instant, he crossed the clearing. Crack. He stopped before reaching a tree. The ground beneath his feet cracked slightly. Stan stared. How fast were you moving? Not very fast. Stan raised an eyebrow. That was not slow. Izuku smiled awkwardly. I'm holding back. How much? Quite a lot. Stan stared at him for several seconds. I see. Izuku activated blackwhip. The tendrils shot toward several trees. He swung through the air, changing direction repeatedly before landing beside Stan. Then float activated. Izuku rose several meters above the ground. He looked down. I also have this. Stan looked upward. You can fly. Sort of. And the black tendrils. Blackwhip. And the danger sensing. Danger sense. Stan rubbed his chin. How many abilities do you have? Izuku hesitated. 7. Stan stared. 7. Yes. Seth, who had been watching from nearby, shouted, that's cheating. Izuku laughed. I've heard that before. Stan eventually led Izuku toward the outer edge of the preserve. The forest became thicker there. Izuku's danger sense immediately began pulsing. Stan noticed. You feel something? Yes. How dangerous? Izuku closed his eyes. He focused. Not very. He opened them. But there are a lot of creatures nearby. Stan nodded. This is one of the more populated sections. Izuku looked around. Then why is everything hiding? Stan didn't answer. Izuku's expression became serious. They're afraid. A strange silence covered the forest. Then a group of fairies emerged from the trees. They watched Izuku cautiously. One flew closer. Izuku remained still. Hello. The fairy hovered in front of him. Then it touched his shoulder. Nothing happened. Izuku smiled. Friendly. Stan nodded. They seem to trust you. Really? You haven't harmed any of the creatures you've encountered. Izuku looked toward the forest. They're not villains. Stan smiled. That's an important distinction. As the sun began to set, Izuku returned to the house. He sat on the porch with Kendra and Seth. Seth handed him a glass. Milk. Izuku stared at it. Normal milk. Magical. Izuku immediately pushed it away. Still no. Seth laughed. Kendra shook her head. You really don't want to try it. I can already see the creatures. But you might see more. Izuku considered it. Then danger sense pulsed. He looked at the glass. Nope. Seth burst out laughing. Your danger sense hates milk. Apparently. Kendra smiled. For the first time since arriving in Fablehaven, Izuku relaxed. Then Stan stepped onto the porch. Izuku. He looked up. Yes. Stan held out a key. You can stay here. Izuku blinked. Really? Until we find a way to send you home. Izuku accepted the key. Thank you. Stan nodded. But there's one condition. Izuku looked at him. What? If you're staying in Fablehaven, you help protect it. Izuku smiled. Deal. A distant roar echoed through the forest. Roar. Izuku immediately stood. Green lightning flickered around his body. Seth sighed. Already. Izuku looked toward the forest. I guess I'm on duty. Stan watched him carefully. The stranger who had fallen from another world had arrived with enough power to destroy nearly anything in the preserve. Yet he had chosen restraint every time. Stan looked at the damaged golem in the distance. Perhaps Fablehaven had gained something more valuable than another fighter. Perhaps it had gained a guardian. Izuku stepped toward the forest. Let's see what's making that noise. Kendra and Seth followed. Behind them, Stan looked toward the darkening sky. Something had brought Izuku to Fablehaven. And sooner or later, they would discover why. The next morning, Izuku woke before sunrise. He had spent most of the night studying maps of Fablehaven with Stan. None of them showed everything inside the preserve, but they gave him a rough idea of where the safer areas ended. The deeper sections of the forest were another matter. According to Stan, some creatures there were harmless. Others were not. Izuku was halfway through breakfast when danger sense suddenly pulsed. He froze. Kendra noticed immediately. What is it? Izuku slowly put his spoon down. Someone is inside the preserve. Seth looked toward the windows. Another creature. No. Izuku closed his eyes. Danger sense pulsed again. People. Stan immediately stood. How many? I can't tell exactly. Izuku concentrated. At least 4. Stan's expression hardened. Where? Izuku pointed toward the eastern forest. They're moving toward the inner preserve. Stan reached for his coat. Then we have a problem. Izuku, Kendra, Seth, and Stan moved through the forest. Izuku stayed several meters ahead. He wasn't running. He didn't need to. Danger sense kept giving him brief warnings whenever the intruders changed direction. They stopped. Stan whispered, "Why?" Izuku looked toward the trees. "There's something ahead of them." "What?" "I don't know." He crouched behind a fallen tree. Through the branches, he spotted 4 people wearing dark clothing. They moved carefully between the trees. One carried a metal case. Another held a strange staff covered in glowing symbols. Izuku narrowed his eyes. "They're not looking for us." Stan nodded. "They're looking for something." One of the strangers placed the metal case on the ground. Another pulled out a small crystal. The crystal began glowing. Izuku's danger sense suddenly exploded. Everyone down. Kendra and Seth dropped immediately. Stan followed. A purple wave passed through the forest. The trees around them distorted. For a moment, the strangers disappeared. Izuku's eyes widened. Glamour. Stan looked at him. "You can see through it." "I don't think it affected me." Izuku focused. The 4 strangers were still visible. Their surroundings, however, looked completely different. The forest had been replaced by an empty clearing. "They're hiding something." One of the intruders spoke. "The Guardian shouldn't detect us." Another answered. "The artifact is close. Keep moving." Izuku's eyes narrowed. Artifact. So that was their target. He looked at Stan. What are they trying to steal? Stan's expression became grim. Something they should never have found. The intruders continued deeper into the forest. Izuku followed from above. Float lifted him silently between the trees. Blackwhip attached itself to branches, allowing him to move without making a sound. Below, the 4 strangers stopped beside a large stone structure. One of them raised the glowing staff. The ground opened. A staircase appeared beneath the roots. Izuku stared. Hidden entrance. Stan looked up at him. "Can you get closer?" "Easily." Izuku descended behind them. The moment his feet touched the ground, danger sense exploded. He jumped backward. A magical blade shot from the wall. Crack. It embedded itself in the stone where his head had been. Izuku stared at it. Okay. He looked at the wall. That's new. The strangers turned. One of them shouted, "We've been discovered." Izuku sighed. Yeah, that usually happens when people leave magical knives lying around. The nearest intruder raised his staff. Green energy gathered around the tip. Izuku moved. Gearshift activated. The world seemed to slow around him. In the next instant, Izuku was standing directly in front of the intruder. His hand closed around the staff. Crack. The weapon snapped in half. The intruder stared at the broken pieces. "What are you?" Izuku looked at him. "Lost." Then blackwhip shot from his arm. It wrapped around the man's legs and pulled him off balance. Another intruder attacked from behind. Danger sense warned Izuku before the spell was released. He ducked. A blast of dark energy passed over his head. Izuku spun and kicked the attacker's staff away. "You're really bad at announcing your attacks." The man stumbled backward. Kendra and Seth entered the chamber with Stan. "Izuku, stay behind me." 3 remaining intruders surrounded them. Stan immediately recognized their symbols. The Society of the Evening Star. Izuku glanced at him. "Friends of yours?" "Absolutely not." "Good to know." One of the intruders smiled. "You have no idea what you're interfering with." Izuku raised an eyebrow. I've heard that line before. The man lifted his hand. Dark energy began gathering around his body. Then perhaps you should learn. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Danger sense screamed. He moved. Gearshift and FA Jin activated together. In less than a second, Izuku crossed the chamber. Boom. His fist struck the ground directly in front of the attacker. The resulting shockwave knocked the man backward without hitting him directly. The other intruders lost their footing. Stan stared. You could have destroyed them. Izuku lowered his fist. I know. He looked at the unconscious intruders. That's why I didn't. The leader slowly tried to crawl away. Blackwhip wrapped around him. Izuku pulled him back. You're going to tell us what you're looking for. The man glared at him. You think you can stop us? Izuku looked toward the broken staff. Then toward the hidden staircase. Probably. He tightened Blackwhip slightly. But I'm willing to let Stan ask the questions. Stan stepped forward. The man's expression changed. For the first time, he looked afraid. Izuku noticed. Interesting. Seth looked at him. What? Izuku stared at the captured intruder. He wasn't afraid of me. Kendra frowned. Then what is he afraid of? Izuku looked deeper into the underground passage. His danger sense suddenly pulsed again. This time, it wasn't warning him about the intruders. Something was waiting beneath them. Izuku's expression became serious. Whatever they're trying to steal. He looked at Stan. It's still down there. The underground chamber became silent. Izuku kept his eyes on the staircase. Whatever was waiting below had not moved. Yet, Stan stepped closer to the entrance. We shouldn't go down there. Izuku looked at him. Because of the artifact. Because of what might be guarding it. Seth frowned. Then why did those people come here? Because they believe whatever is down there is worth the risk, Kendra said. Izuku glanced at the captured intruder. And they weren't expecting someone like me. The man glared at him. You won't stop the society. Izuku shrugged. I don't need to stop the entire society. Blackwhip tightened around the man's wrists. I just need to stop you. Before they could continue, a sharp sound came from the staircase. Crack. A dark symbol appeared on the stone floor. Danger sense erupted. Move. Izuku grabbed Kendra and Seth with Blackwhip and pulled them backward. A wave of black energy exploded from the staircase. Boom. The captured intruder was thrown across the chamber. Stan raised his arm to shield himself. Izuku landed between everyone and the staircase. That wasn't them. Stan looked at the dark symbol. No. Another symbol appeared. Then another. The remaining society members suddenly smiled. It's activated. Izuku frowned. Activated what? The leader laughed. The curse. The entire chamber shook. Dark energy spread across the walls. The intruders disappeared into the shadows. Izuku's danger sense continued screaming. They're escaping. Stan looked toward the passage. Let them go. Izuku glanced at him. You sure? Yes. Whatever they activated is more important. Izuku nodded. Then I'll handle it. A figure suddenly appeared behind them. It was tall. Its body was covered in black armor. Purple energy flowed around its hands. Kendra stepped back. That's a dark warden. Izuku looked at the creature. How dangerous. Very. The warden raised one hand. A blade of dark energy formed. Izuku immediately moved. Gearshift activated. Everything around him slowed. The blade moved toward his chest. Izuku shifted sideways. Crack. The blade sliced through the stone behind him. Fast. The warden attacked again. Izuku ducked. Another strike. He jumped. Another. He twisted through the air. You're quick. The warden roared. Roar. It swung both arms. Izuku activated FA Jin. His stored energy released. He disappeared. Boom. His shoulder slammed into the warden's chest. The creature flew backward and crashed into the wall. Kendra stared. He just knocked it back. Stan nodded. Apparently. The warden recovered almost immediately. Izuku's expression changed. Okay. The creature raised both hands. Dark magic gathered around it. Izuku's danger sense screamed. That's stronger. The warden released the spell. A massive wave of dark energy rushed through the chamber. Izuku activated smokescreen. Gray smoke filled the area. The spell passed through it. Izuku used blackwhip to pull himself upward. He swung around the chamber. The warden looked around. It couldn't see him. Izuku could. Danger sense wasn't his only advantage. His enhanced senses tracked the creature's movements through the smoke. Got you. He activated gearshift. His body accelerated. Jin followed. He appeared beside the warden and grabbed its arm. You're not faster than me. The warden tried to pull away. Izuku twisted. Crack. The dark armor around its arm fractured. The creature roared. Roar. Izuku kicked it into the floor. Boom. The stone cracked. But the warden immediately vanished. Izuku froze. Where did it go? Danger sense pulsed behind him. He turned. Too late. The warden appeared directly behind Kendra. No. Izuku fired blackwhip. The tendrils wrapped around Kendra's waist and yanked her away. The dark blade struck the ground. Crack. Izuku landed between them. His expression hardened. Don't do that again. The warden raised its hand. Izuku activated One for All. Green lightning covered his body. You wanted my attention. He stepped forward. You've got it. Izuku disappeared. The warden barely reacted. Boom. A punch struck its stomach. The creature bent forward. Another punch. Boom. Then another. Crack. The dark armor began breaking apart. Izuku stopped before delivering another blow. He didn't want to destroy the entire chamber. Instead, he grabbed the warden and threw it toward an empty section of stone. Boom. The creature crashed into the wall. Stan stared at the damage. Midoriya. Izuku looked back. Yeah, don't destroy the entire sanctuary. Izuku looked at the cracks around him. I'm trying. The warden slowly stood again. Izuku sighed. You're really stubborn. The creature raised its hands one last time. Dark energy gathered. Izuku's danger sense warned him. But this time, he didn't dodge. He raised his fist. One for all. Green lightning surged. Smash. He punched the incoming spell. Boom. The impact shattered the dark energy. The warden was thrown backward. Its armor broke apart completely. The creature collapsed. Silence returned. Izuku lowered his fist. Done. Seth stared. You punched magic. Izuku looked at him. Apparently. Kendra walked toward the fallen creature. It's still alive. Izuku nodded. Good. Stan looked at the broken staircase. Then we need to find out why it was protecting this place. Izuku's danger sense suddenly gave one final pulse. He looked deeper into the darkness. Because whatever is down there, he paused, is even more dangerous. Far beneath the chamber, something ancient shifted. Boom. The entire sanctuary trembled. Izuku immediately raised his guard. Stan's face became pale. We're leaving. Izuku looked at him. Agreed. The tremor stopped. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Izuku remained in front of Kendra and Seth, staring into the dark passage beneath the sanctuary. His danger sense had gone quiet again. That somehow made him more nervous. We should leave, Stan said. Izuku nodded. Agreed. They began moving toward the stairs. Then another sound came from above. Not underground. Above them, a distant roar rolled across the forest. Roar. Izuku stopped. His head snapped upward. That's not the same creature. Stan's expression changed. No. Another roar followed. Closer. The walls shook. Seth looked nervous. What is that? Stan answered immediately. A dragon. Izuku blinked. A dragon. The ceiling suddenly exploded. Boom. Stone and dirt rained into the chamber. Izuku grabbed Kendra and Seth with blackwhip and pulled them away. A massive shadow passed over the opening. Then a huge creature descended through the broken roof. Its wings spread across the clearing outside. Scales covered its body. Two enormous horns curved backward from its head. Its eyes glowed like burning coals. Izuku stared. That's definitely a dragon. Seth looked at him. You sound surprised. Because dragons weren't on my list of things I'd be fighting today. The dragon roared. Roar. Izuku immediately pushed Kendra and Seth behind him. Stay back. The dragon opened its mouth. Danger sense exploded. Move. Izuku launched himself upward. A stream of fire blasted across the clearing. Boom. The flames swept over the trees. Izuku floated above them, watching the fire spread. That's hot. Stan shouted from below. Don't engage it. Izuku looked down. Why? It's a sanctuary creature. Izuku stared at the dragon. It's attacking us. It's not supposed to. The dragon turned toward the house. Izuku's expression hardened. Well, it didn't get the memo. The dragon charged. Izuku fired blackwhip toward a tree and swung around its head. The dragon snapped its jaws. Izuku barely escaped. Crack. Its teeth slammed together. Okay. Izuku flew backward. Definitely hostile. The dragon turned toward the ground. Kendra and Seth were still there. Izuku's eyes widened. Blackwhip. The tendrils shot downward. They wrapped around both siblings. Izuku pulled them away just as the dragon's tail smashed into the ground. Boom. The force sent dirt flying. Seth yelled. I hate dragons. Izuku carried them toward a safe area. Get behind that rock. Kendra grabbed Seth. What about you? Izuku looked at the dragon. I'll keep it busy. You can't fight that thing alone. Izuku smiled faintly. I've fought worse. Seth stared. You have. Izuku paused. Yes. How much worse? Izuku looked at the dragon again. Let's not discuss that right now. The dragon launched itself into the sky. Izuku followed. Float kept him suspended while Blackwhip pulled him between trees. The dragon was much faster than its size suggested. It twisted in the air and fired another blast. Boom. Izuku changed direction. The flames passed beneath him. He activated One for All. Green lightning flashed. 45%. He accelerated. The dragon turned. Izuku flew directly toward its head. The creature swung one claw. Danger sense warned him. He shifted sideways. The claw missed by centimeters. Izuku grabbed the dragon's horn with Blackwhip. Got you. The dragon shook its head violently. Izuku was pulled through the air. Not letting go, he wrapped another tendril around its neck. The dragon roared. Roar. Izuku was dragged downward. The dragon dove toward the ground. Izuku's eyes widened. Bad idea. He released Blackwhip at the last moment. The dragon crashed into the clearing. Boom. Izuku floated above the impact. The creature immediately stood. It looked furious. Izuku sighed. You're tougher than the golem. The dragon opened its mouth. Danger sense screamed. Here we go. Fire erupted. Izuku crossed his arms. Blackwhip wrapped around several trees behind him. He pulled himself sideways at the last second. The flames missed. Then Izuku noticed something. The dragon wasn't aiming at him. It was aiming past him. Toward the sanctuary. His expression changed. It's trying to get inside. Izuku turned. No. He accelerated. The dragon landed directly in front of the sanctuary entrance. Kendra and Seth were still behind the rocks. Stan stood between them and the creature. The dragon lowered its head. Izuku appeared between them. Green lightning crackled around his body. You're not getting past me. The dragon roared. Roar. Izuku raised both hands. Blackwhip shot forward. The tendrils wrapped around the dragon's horns. The creature pulled. Izuku's feet slid backward. You're strong. The ground cracked beneath him. He activated Fa Jin. Energy surged through his body. But so am I. Izuku pulled back. The dragon's head moved sideways. Not enough to injure it. Just enough to change its direction. The dragon's claws struck the ground beside him. Boom. Izuku jumped. He floated above its head. Then he looked at the sanctuary. Something was wrong. The dragon wasn't simply attacking randomly. It kept trying to reach the same area. The underground chamber. Izuku's eyes narrowed. You're sensing it too. The dragon looked toward him. For a moment, their eyes met. Izuku lowered his fist. There's something under the sanctuary. Stan looked up. What? That's why it's here. The dragon roared again. But this time, Izuku noticed something strange. It wasn't looking at him. It was looking toward the ground. Toward the hidden chamber. Izuku landed. Stan. Yes. What's underneath this place? Stan's face became tense. Something old. How old? Older than the preserve. Izuku stared at him. That's not reassuring. The dragon suddenly raised its head. Its eyes locked onto the forest. Izuku's danger sense pulsed. Not toward the dragon. Toward the trees. Someone else was there. Izuku turned. Several figures were standing among the shadows. Dark clothing. The same symbols. Society of the Evening Star. One of them smiled. The dragon has done exactly what we needed. Izuku's expression hardened. You used the dragon. The man laughed. We only gave it a reason to come. Stan stepped forward. What have you done? The man raised a small device. The ground beneath the sanctuary began glowing. Izuku's danger sense exploded. Everyone move. The earth cracked. Boom. The dragon roared and took flight. The sanctuary walls began shaking. Kendra grabbed Seth. Izuku looked between the dragon and the society members. Then he clenched his fists. This isn't a dragon attack. Green lightning spread across his body. It's a distraction. The ground split open beneath the sanctuary. And something enormous began moving below them. The ground beneath the sanctuary continued to split apart. Crack. Izuku hovered above the clearing, watching the massive fissure spread beneath the trees. Something was moving underground. Something enormous. Kendra pulled Seth closer. What is that? Izuku's eyes remained fixed on the ground. I don't know. Stan looked toward the members of the Society of the Evening Star. They're trying to open something. One of the intruders smiled. Finally, someone understands. Izuku turned toward him. You're surprisingly talkative for someone standing in front of an angry dragon. The man's smile disappeared. The dragon suddenly roared. Roar. It spread its wings and dove toward the intruders. They scattered. Izuku watched the creature pass over him. So even the dragon doesn't like them. Stan shouted, Midoriya. Izuku looked down. The fissure beneath the sanctuary widened. A huge stone structure rose from below. It looked like an ancient gate. Dark energy leaked through its cracks. Izuku's danger sense went wild. That's bad. The gate opened. A wave of dark energy exploded outward. Boom. Izuku was thrown backward. He stabilized himself with float. Blackwhip shot toward a tree. He swung around and landed beside Kendra and Seth. Are you okay? Kendra nodded. Yes. Seth looked toward the dragon. What about that? Izuku turned. The dragon was hovering above the sanctuary. Then it suddenly descended. Its claws struck the ground. Boom. The impact sent a shockwave across the clearing. Izuku jumped. It's coming this way. The dragon opened its mouth. Flames began gathering. Izuku immediately moved in front of Kendra and Seth. Stay behind me. The fire erupted. Boom. Izuku crossed his arms. Blackwhip wrapped around several trees behind him. The flames pushed against his body. His shoes dragged backward. Come on. He gritted his teeth. 45%. Green lightning intensified. He pushed against the flames. Then he noticed the dragon's eyes. It wasn't attacking with anger. It was frightened. Izuku's expression changed. Wait. He lowered his arms. The fire stopped. Smoke drifted across the clearing. The dragon stared at him. Izuku slowly raised his hands. "You're not trying to kill us." The dragon growled. Izuku glanced at the gate. "You're trying to stop whatever is underneath it." The dragon roared. "Roar." Stan looked at Izuku. "You understand it." "Not exactly." Izuku pointed toward the gate. "But it keeps looking at that." Stan's expression became grim. The dragon senses the dark magic. "Then we're on the same side." The dragon suddenly charged toward the gate. Izuku followed. The dragon slammed into the gate. Boom. The ancient structure shook. Dark energy exploded across its body. The dragon recoiled. Izuku flew toward it. "Don't touch it." The creature looked at him. Izuku landed on its back. "I'll handle this." The dragon roared. Roar. Izuku grabbed one of its horns. Yeah, I know." The dragon took off. They rose above the forest. Izuku looked down. The society members were running toward the gate. "They're going for it." The dragon turned. Izuku pointed. "There." The dragon dove. Izuku activated One for All. Green lightning surrounded his body. 45%. Fa Jin activated. The stored energy surged through his muscles. The dragon folded its wings. Izuku crouched. "Let's finish this." They descended together. The dragon struck the ground first. Boom. Izuku jumped from its back. His fist pulled backward. Detroit smash. Boom. The shockwave slammed into the dark gate. Crack. The structure fractured. The society members were thrown backward. One shouted, "Stop him." Izuku landed. "No." Blackwhip shot from his arms. It wrapped around 3 attackers at once. He pulled. They crashed into each other. "You're done." The dragon landed behind him. Izuku looked over his shoulder. "Nice timing." The dragon growled. Izuku smiled. "I'll take that as a compliment." Then the gate cracked again. This time, something pushed from the other side. Izuku's smile disappeared. A gigantic claw emerged through the opening. Kendra screamed. Stan's face went pale. "That's not supposed to be there." Izuku stared at the claw. "What is it?" Stan didn't answer. The dragon roared and spread its wings. Izuku stepped forward. Green lightning surged around his body. "Whatever it is." He clenched his fist. "It's not getting through." The claw pushed harder. The gate began collapsing. Boom. Izuku launched himself forward. The dragon charged beside him. One human. One dragon. Both heading straight toward the ancient gate. And whatever waited beyond it was finally waking up. The enormous claw pushed farther through the broken gate. Crack. Another section of stone collapsed. Izuku launched forward. Not happening. Green lightning exploded around his body as One for All surged through his muscles. The dragon charged beside him. Together, they struck the gate. Boom. The impact forced the massive claw backward. The opening shrank for a moment. Then dark energy burst through the cracks. Izuku was thrown across the clearing. He twisted in midair and caught a tree with blackwhip. "I'm fine." The dragon wasn't so lucky. It crashed through several trees before finally stopping. Izuku immediately looked toward Kendra and Seth. "Stay with Stan." Kendra nodded. "Be careful." Izuku turned back toward the gate. The Society of the Evening Star had regrouped. Several members stood around the ancient structure, holding magical weapons. One of them raised a staff. "Attack him." Spells flew toward Izuku. Danger sense erupted. He moved. Gearshift accelerated his body. One spell passed beside his head. Another struck the ground. Boom. A third was aimed at his legs. Blackwhip caught a nearby branch. Izuku swung upward. He landed behind the attackers. "You really should stop doing that." One of them turned. Izuku punched the ground. Boom. The shockwave knocked the entire group off their feet. He immediately followed with Blackwhip, binding their arms and legs. "Stay down." Another group emerged from the forest. Then another. Stan's eyes widened. There are too many. Izuku looked around. At least 20 armed intruders were advancing toward the sanctuary. He clenched his fist. Then I'll handle 20. Seth stared. 20. Izuku glanced at him. Maybe more. That's not reassuring. Izuku smiled. It wasn't supposed to be. The first wave attacked. Izuku disappeared. Boom. One attacker was knocked into the dirt. Another tried to cast a spell. Blackwhip wrapped around his wrist. Izuku pulled him forward and kicked him away. A third raised a sword. Izuku ducked beneath the swing. Too slow. He grabbed the weapon and tossed it aside. Then he jumped. Float carried him above the battlefield. Blackwhip spread from his arms. Several tendrils wrapped around trees and pillars. Izuku pulled himself through the air. He moved from one enemy to another. Boom. Crack. Boom. One after another, the attackers fell. He avoided lethal strikes, targeting weapons, armor, and limbs instead. Kendra watched from behind Stan. He's not even using his full power. Stan nodded. And that's probably the most frightening part. A massive magical projectile suddenly flew toward them. Danger sense screamed. Izuku turned. Get down. He shot across the clearing. Blackwhip grabbed Kendra and Seth. He pulled them away. The projectile hit the ground. Boom. A wave of dark energy spread outward. Izuku landed in front of them. The blast struck him instead. His body slid backward. His shoes tore through the dirt. He stopped. Green lightning flickered across his arms. Okay. Izuku looked at the attacker. That one hurt. The attacker raised his staff again. Izuku disappeared. Gearshift activated. The world slowed. Izuku crossed the distance in an instant. His hand closed around the staff. Crack. He snapped it in half. Then he grabbed the attacker by the collar and dropped him safely onto the ground. Stay. The dragon suddenly roared. Roar. Izuku turned. The creature was fighting 3 magical beasts that had emerged from the forest. One was covered in stone armor. Another had enormous claws. The third was surrounded by dark flames. The dragon blocked their attacks. Izuku looked at it. You need help. The dragon roared. I'll take that as yes. Izuku launched himself forward. He struck the stone creature. Boom. It flew backward. The dragon smashed the second creature with its tail. The third launched dark flames. Izuku activated Blackwhip. He wrapped the creature's body and pulled it downward. The dragon's claw struck beside him. Boom. The creature disappeared beneath the impact. Izuku looked at the dragon. Nice. The dragon growled. Then both turned toward the gate. The ancient structure was collapsing. The society members were no longer attacking them. They were running toward the opening. Stan noticed. They're retreating. Izuku frowned. No. He looked at the gate. They got what they wanted. Kendra's eyes widened. What? Izuku pointed. A small golden object was floating above the broken structure. It was shaped like a key. Ancient symbols covered its surface. Stan's face went pale. The Fablehaven key. Izuku stared at it. That's the artifact they wanted. Yes. One of the society members grabbed the key. The moment his hand touched it, dark energy exploded. Boom. He screamed and dropped it. The key flew through the air. Izuku moved. Blackwhip caught it before it hit the ground. He pulled it toward himself. The moment the key reached his hand, the energy disappeared. Izuku blinked. Interesting. Stan stared at him. What happened? It doesn't hurt me. Stan approached cautiously. Give it to me. Izuku handed it over. The moment Stan touched it, the key remained completely still. Stan looked relieved. Good. Izuku looked at the retreating society members. They're leaving. Stan nodded. Let them. Izuku frowned. They'll come back. Yes. Izuku looked at the broken gate. Then we'll be ready. The remaining society members disappeared into the forest. The dragon returned to the clearing. It lowered its head beside Izuku. Izuku placed a hand against its scales. Thanks. The dragon gave a low growl. Kendra approached slowly. Does it like you? Izuku shrugged. I think we're acquaintances. Seth walked closer. Can you ride it? Izuku looked at the dragon. Then at Seth. Probably. Seth's eyes widened. Seriously. Kendra grabbed his shoulder. Don't encourage him. Izuku laughed. Stan walked toward them, holding the Fablehaven key. The preserve is safe for now. Izuku looked at the damaged sanctuary. For now. Stan nodded. You understand the problem. Izuku looked toward the dark forest. The society knows about the key. Yes. They know how to get inside. Yes. And they know you're protecting it. Stan looked at him. Which means they'll come for you next. Izuku smiled. Green lightning flickered faintly around his hand. Then they'll have to get through me. The dragon roared behind him. Roar. Seth grinned. And the dragon. Izuku looked over his shoulder. And the dragon. Kendra shook her head. This is going to be a long week. Far away, hidden among the trees, a cloaked figure watched the sanctuary. The figure held a damaged magical device. Its eyes remained fixed on Izuku. The boy isn't using magic. Another voice answered from the shadows. Then what is he using? The figure looked toward the dragon. Something far more dangerous. Back at the sanctuary, Izuku suddenly felt danger's sense pulse. Once. Then twice. He looked toward the forest. Someone was watching. But this time, whoever it was didn't attack. They simply disappeared into the darkness. Izuku narrowed his eyes. The battle was over. The war had not even started. The morning after the attack, Fablehaven was unusually quiet. Izuku stood near the edge of the forest, watching several workers repair the damaged trees and reinforce the broken section of the sanctuary barrier. The dragon was gone. The Society of the Evening Star had disappeared. But the Fablehaven key was still inside Stan's possession. And Izuku couldn't forget the dark gate beneath the preserve. He looked toward Stan. You said those people were trying to open something. Stan nodded. Something called zzyzx. Izuku frowned. What exactly is zzyzx? Stan took a breath. An ancient prison. For what? Demons. Izuku stared at him. How many? Too many. That answer was enough. Izuku crossed his arms. Then we need to stop them before they get the chance. Stan looked toward Kendra and Seth. That's why we're leaving Fablehaven. Seth blinked. We're leaving. Temporarily. Kendra looked concerned. Where are we going? Stan placed several maps on the table. Other preserves. There are people who know more about zzyzx than we do. Izuku leaned over the maps. There were several locations marked across different parts of the world. So we're going to ask them for information. And protection, Stan said. Izuku nodded. Good. Seth looked at him. You're coming too, right? Izuku smiled. Of course. The preparations took several hours. Kendra packed supplies. Seth complained about carrying them. Stan checked the magical equipment they would need. Izuku simply stood beside the door. He didn't need much. His costume wasn't designed for long journeys, but One for All didn't require equipment. After everything was ready, Stan opened a strange wooden case. Inside was a small object covered in glowing symbols. Izuku leaned closer. What's that? A way to travel between preserves. Teleportation. Something similar. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Good. Stan looked at him. You don't seem surprised. After seeing a dragon yesterday, teleportation isn't even in the top 5 strangest things I've encountered here. Seth laughed. Kendra shook her head. He's getting used to this place. Izuku smiled. Unfortunately, the device activated. A circular glow formed beneath their feet. The forest disappeared. For a moment, Izuku felt as though gravity had stopped existing. Then everything returned. His feet touched solid ground. He immediately activated danger sense. Nothing. Izuku looked around. They stood inside another forest. It was smaller than Fablehaven. But the air was filled with strange energy. Small glowing creatures moved between the trees. Kendra looked around. This is another preserve. Stan nodded. Yes. Izuku looked toward the creatures. They know we're here. Most magical creatures do. They don't seem hostile. Not yet. Izuku gave Stan a look. You really like saying things like that. Stan smiled. Experience. They continued deeper into the preserve. After several minutes, a group of armored warriors appeared between the trees. Their armor was decorated with golden symbols. The leader raised his sword. Identify yourselves. Stan stepped forward. Stan Sorenson. Fablehaven. The warrior lowered his weapon slightly. What brings you here? Zzyzx. The warrior immediately became serious. Follow me. Izuku noticed the sudden change. That word really gets everyone's attention. Kendra whispered, for good reason. They were taken to a large stone building surrounded by magical barriers. Inside, several people were gathered around an enormous map. One of them looked at Izuku. Who is he? Stan answered. Izuku Midoriya. Guardian. Stan hesitated. Something like that. Izuku waved awkwardly. Hello. The man stared at him. What kind of magic does he use? Izuku scratched his cheek. None. Silence. The man looked at Stan. Stan simply shrugged. He's serious. The meeting began. Stan explained everything that had happened at Fablehaven. The golem. The society. The underground gate. The dragon. The key. When he finished, the room was silent. One of the warriors pointed toward the map. The society has been searching for access points to zzyzx for years. Another added, if they obtain the right artifacts, they could weaken the prison. Izuku frowned. And then, the demons inside could escape. Izuku looked at Kendra and Seth. Then back at the map. How many demons? The room became quiet. One of the older men answered. Enough to destroy entire cities. Izuku nodded slowly. Then we can't let them open it. Stan looked at him. That's why we're visiting the other preserves. He pointed toward several locations. Each one holds knowledge or artifacts connected to zzyzx. Izuku studied the map. So we're collecting pieces of information before the society does. Exactly. Izuku nodded. Then we should move quickly. Their journey continued. The next preserve was hidden beneath a mountain. The one after that was surrounded by an enormous magical lake. Each place was different. Each had its own creatures. And each had its own warnings about zzyzx. Izuku adapted quickly. He learned which creatures were harmless. Which ones were territorial. Which magical barriers he could simply walk through. And which ones triggered danger sense before he even touched them. At one preserve, a group of fairies followed him for nearly an hour. At another, a giant creature refused to let Seth pass until Izuku distracted it. And at the third, Izuku discovered that magical disguises were almost useless against danger sense. You're getting better at this, Kendra said. Izuku looked at her. At what? Being here. He smiled. I'm still trying to figure out why everyone here treats magical creatures like they're normal. Seth shrugged. Because they are normal here. Izuku sighed. Right. Several days later, they arrived at a remote sanctuary surrounded by mountains. The moment Izuku stepped through the entrance, danger sense activated. He stopped. Kendra looked at him. What? Izuku stared ahead. Something's wrong. Stan immediately became alert. Where? Izuku pointed toward the mountains. There. A dark cloud hung over the distant peaks. It wasn't normal weather. Izuku could feel something moving inside it. That's not a storm. One of the knights looked worried. We've been receiving reports of strange activity. Stan frowned. How long? 3 days. Izuku's eyes narrowed. 3 days. The same amount of time since the society had attacked Fablehaven. They're already here. Stan looked at him. Who? Izuku stared at the mountains. The society. A distant flash appeared inside the clouds. Boom. Everyone turned. Another flash. Then another. The sanctuary alarm began ringing. Stan grabbed his equipment. Everyone inside. Izuku stepped forward. Green lightning flickered around his body. I'll check it out. Kendra grabbed his arm. Alone. Izuku looked at her. I'll be back. He activated float. His body rose into the air. Blackwhip shot toward the nearest mountain. He swung forward. In seconds, he disappeared into the clouds. Below, Kendra watched him vanish. Seth crossed his arms. He's definitely not normal. Stan nodded. No. He looked toward the dark mountains. And I have a feeling we're about to discover just how powerful he really is. High above them, Izuku flew through the clouds. Danger sense pulsed again. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was a scream. Izuku stopped. Something enormous was waiting on the other side of the clouds. He clenched his fist. All right. Green lightning covered his body. Let's see what you've got. Izuku flew through the dark clouds. The mountain disappeared beneath him. His danger sense continued screaming. Something was nearby. Not above him. Not below him. Inside the clouds. Izuku slowed down. Come out. Nothing answered. He looked around. The clouds were completely still. Too still. Izuku narrowed his eyes. This is probably a trap. A voice suddenly whispered behind him. Correct. Izuku spun around. Nothing. Then a figure appeared. A tall creature wearing black armor stood in the air. Its face was hidden beneath a horned mask. Dark energy surrounded its body. Izuku immediately activated danger sense. The warning was intense. You're dangerous. The creature smiled. And you are the stranger from another world. Izuku raised his fists. You've heard of me. Everyone has. The creature raised one hand. The clouds changed. The entire mountain disappeared. Izuku blinked. He was suddenly standing in an enormous dark temple. Stone pillars surrounded him. Strange symbols covered the floor. Izuku looked around. Illusion. The creature's voice echoed. You cannot escape. Izuku sighed. People keep saying that. He activated Blackwhip. The tendrils shot toward the nearest pillar. They passed straight through it. Izuku frowned. Okay. Definitely an illusion. The creature appeared behind him. Your strength is useless here. Izuku turned. That's what you think. The creature raised its hand. Dark energy entered Izuku's mind. His vision blurred. Suddenly, he was back in Japan. He saw Ua. He saw All Might. He saw Bakugo. Then the images changed. Buildings were collapsing. People were screaming. Izuku saw himself standing alone among the ruins. His fists were covered in blood. He froze. No. The demon's voice echoed. Your power cannot save everyone. Izuku clenched his fists. Shut up. The image changed again. He saw Kendra and Seth lying unconscious. Izuku's heart tightened. Danger sense screamed. But he couldn't move. You will fail them. Izuku's breathing became heavier. Then another voice entered his mind. Not the demon. His own. It's fake. Izuku looked around. The image of Kendra disappeared for a moment. Then returned. He stared at it. Danger sense. The warning was coming from the illusion itself. Izuku smiled. That's your mistake. The demon's expression changed. Izuku activated One for All. Green lightning exploded around his body. You can fool my eyes. The temple began shaking. But you can't fool my instincts. He punched the ground. Boom. The illusion cracked. Crack. The fake temple shattered like glass. Izuku returned to the mountain. The demon warden stood several meters away. Its expression had changed. Impossible. Izuku rolled his shoulder. You really should stop saying that. The warden attacked. Dark blades appeared around Izuku. Danger sense warned him from every direction. Izuku activated float. He rose above the blades. Blackwhip pulled him sideways. Another blade passed beneath him. He accelerated. FA Jin activated. Then gearshift. The warden barely saw him move. Izuku appeared directly in front of it. Found you. Boom. His fist struck the warden's armor. The creature flew backward. Izuku followed. Another punch. Boom. The warden crashed into the mountain. Rocks fell around it. Izuku stopped himself before delivering another strike. Where are the others? The warden slowly stood. You will never reach them. Izuku frowned. Who? The warden laughed. The society has already entered the sanctuary. Izuku's expression changed. Kendra, Seth, Stan. His danger sense suddenly pulsed toward the valley below. He turned. You were distracting me. The warden smiled. Exactly. Izuku looked back at the creature. Then toward the sanctuary. He clenched his fist. Bad choice. The warden raised its hand again. Dark energy gathered. Izuku disappeared. Gearshift activated. He moved faster than the spell could form. His fist struck the warden's chest. Boom. The creature crashed into the ground. Izuku immediately used blackwhip to pull himself toward the sanctuary. He didn't look back. The warden struggled to stand. Where are you going? Izuku's voice came from the distance. To protect my friends. Green lightning flashed through the clouds. The warden watched him disappear. For the first time, the demon's expression showed concern. Far below, the sanctuary alarms continued ringing. And Izuku was already on his way back. Izuku flew through the clouds at full speed. Gearshift pushed his acceleration higher while blackwhip pulled him between the mountain peaks. His danger sense continued pulsing. Kendra, Seth, Stan, all of them were still inside the sanctuary. And something was approaching them. Hold on. Izuku accelerated. Boom. He broke through the last layer of clouds. The sanctuary appeared below. Dark smoke covered the valley. Several magical creatures were running through the forest. The Society of the Evening Star had already entered the preserve. Izuku's eyes widened. They moved faster than I expected. A group of masked attackers stood near the main entrance. Behind them, several magical beasts were fighting the sanctuary's defenders. Izuku immediately descended. Blackwhip shot toward the ground. He swung downward. Boom. He landed between the attackers and the sanctuary. The impact knocked several of them off their feet. One of the attackers looked up. The outsider. Izuku stood. Green lightning flickered around his body. You really need better security. The attacker raised his staff. Kill him. Several spells flew toward Izuku. Danger sense activated. He moved between them. One spell passed beside his face. Another struck the ground. Boom. Izuku jumped. Float activated. His body rose above the battlefield. Blackwhip spread from his arms. He grabbed 3 attackers at once. Out of the way, he pulled. The 3 men collided. Crack. They fell unconscious. Izuku turned toward the sanctuary. Where are Kendra and Seth? A knight pointed toward the western side. They're trapped near the ravine. Izuku's expression changed. I'll get them. Izuku flew across the forest. The ravine was already collapsing. Magical energy had weakened the ground beneath it. Kendra was holding onto a tree. Seth was hanging below her. Seth, I'm trying. The ground cracked again. Crack. Izuku arrived instantly. Blackwhip wrapped around both of them. I've got you. The tree finally broke. Boom. Izuku pulled them upward before they could fall. Kendra held Seth tightly. You came. Of course. Izuku looked below. The ravine was growing wider. Several knights were trapped on the other side. There are more people. Kendra nodded. We can't leave them. Izuku looked at the collapsing terrain. Then at the clouds above. He had an idea. Hold on to me. Seth blinked. What? Trust me. Izuku wrapped Blackwhip around Kendra, Seth, and the nearby knights. Then he activated Float. Their bodies slowly rose. Seth looked down. We're flying. Technically. Izuku pulled everyone higher. The collapsing ground disappeared beneath them. Stones fell into the ravine. Boom. The group moved through the air. Kendra looked around. How long can you keep this up? Long enough. Izuku increased his speed. Blackwhip connected to the surrounding trees, allowing him to pull everyone forward while float kept them airborne. They passed above the forest. Several magical creatures looked up. Some fled. Others watched in confusion. Seth grinned. This is amazing. Kendra grabbed his shoulder. Don't let go. I'm not. Izuku looked toward the sanctuary. More smoke was rising. His expression hardened. We're not finished. They reached the main sanctuary. Izuku lowered everyone safely. The knights immediately ran toward the defensive line. Kendra released her grip. Thank you. Izuku nodded. Stay with Stan. What about you? Izuku looked toward the mountains. I'm going back. Seth stared. Back where? Where the attackers came from. Kendra's expression tightened. Alone. Izuku smiled. Not exactly. A distant roar echoed through the mountains. Roar. The dragon appeared above the trees. Its wings spread wide. It descended toward Izuku. Izuku looked up. There you are. The dragon landed beside him. Boom. Izuku placed a hand against its neck. We need to stop them. The dragon roared. Izuku smiled. Yeah. Behind them, Kendra watched. He's really going back. Stan stepped beside her. Yes. After everything that happened. Stan looked toward Izuku. That's exactly why. Izuku jumped onto the dragon's back. Blackwhip secured him to its body. The dragon spread its wings. Izuku looked toward the dark mountains. Let's go. The dragon took off. Roar. They disappeared into the clouds. Far below, Kendra watched until they vanished. Then she noticed something. The Fablehaven key in Stan's hand had begun glowing. Stan looked down. His expression changed. That's not good. Kendra looked at him. What is it? Stan stared toward the mountains. The key is reacting to something. What? Stan's grip tightened. The prison. Far away, Izuku felt danger sense erupt. He looked toward the horizon. A massive dark cloud was forming above the mountains. Something had awakened. Izuku clenched his fist. Green lightning spread across his arm. So that's where we're going. The dragon roared. Roar. And the two disappeared deeper into the storm. The dragon flew straight into the dark clouds. Izuku held tightly to its back as the wind struck his face. The storm wasn't natural. Black energy covered the sky like smoke, twisting between the mountains. Danger sense kept pulsing. Something powerful was ahead. There. Izuku pointed toward a massive stone fortress built into the mountainside. Several dark figures stood around its entrance. The Society of the Evening Star had established a base there. The dragon descended. As they approached, dozens of magical creatures appeared from the cliffs. Demons. Izuku's eyes widened. There are a lot of them. The dragon roared. Roar. Izuku jumped from its back. Float activated. He hovered above the ground while the dragon landed beside him. The demons immediately charged. Izuku raised his hand. Blackwhip shot forward. It wrapped around the first demon and pulled it away from the others. Boom. The creature crashed into the ground. Another demon swung a massive axe. Izuku ducked beneath it. Danger sense warned him of another attack from behind. He jumped. Blackwhip caught the cliff. Izuku swung over the attackers. Too many. He activated smokescreen. Gray smoke spread across the battlefield. The demons stumbled through it. Izuku moved between them. Boom. One punch knocked a demon backward. Another kick sent another into the dirt. He never stopped moving. The dragon attacked from the opposite side. Its claws slammed into the ground. Boom. Several demons were thrown away. Izuku landed beside it. Good teamwork. The dragon growled. Izuku smiled. I'll assume that means yes. Then everything stopped. The demons suddenly backed away. Izuku noticed immediately. Why are they retreating? The dragon lowered its head. A heavy presence emerged from the fortress. Footsteps echoed through the mountain. Boom. Another step. Boom. A massive figure walked through the entrance. He was enormous. Thick armor covered his body. Large horns rose from his head. His hands were big enough to crush a human. Izuku stared. That's probably the boss. The demon smiled. I am Gorgrog. His voice shook the mountainside. And you are the creature who has interfered with our plans. Izuku pointed at himself. Me. Gorgrog laughed. You believe your strange powers make you superior to demons. Izuku shrugged. Not really. He looked at the dragon. I just know I'm stronger than most of the people you've sent at me. The demons growled. Gorgrog's expression darkened. Arrogant. Izuku smiled. I've been called worse. Gorgrog charged. Boom. The ground shattered beneath his feet. Izuku activated One for All. Green lightning exploded around him. He jumped. Gorgrog's fist passed beneath him. Izuku used blackwhip to pull himself sideways. Another punch. Izuku dodged. Gorgrog swung again. Izuku blocked. Boom. The shockwave threw him backward. Izuku flipped through the air and landed on his feet. He looked at his arm. That actually hurt. Gorgrog laughed. Now you understand the difference between a mortal and a demon. Izuku raised his head. Not yet. Green lightning intensified. One for All surged through his body. Gorgrog charged again. This time, Izuku didn't retreat. He activated Fa Jin. Energy accumulated through his muscles. Then gearshift. His body accelerated. Gorgrog's eyes widened. Izuku disappeared. Boom. His fist struck Gorgrog's stomach. The demon was thrown backward. He crashed through a stone wall. Boom. The demons froze. Izuku landed. Dust surrounded him. Gorgrog emerged from the rubble. Blood ran from the corner of his mouth. He looked furious. You. Izuku raised his fists. Yeah. Gorgrog roared. Roar. Dark energy exploded from his body. The mountain shook. Izuku's danger sense screamed. That's more like it. Gorgrog swung both arms. Izuku crossed his arms. Boom. The impact forced him backward. His feet carved trenches into the stone. Gorgrog pushed harder. Izuku gritted his teeth. You're strong. He released blackwhip. The tendrils wrapped around the demon's arms. Gorgrog pulled. Izuku was dragged forward. Instead of resisting, Izuku used the momentum. He activated Fa Jin. Then gearshift. He vanished. Gorgrog looked around. Izuku appeared above him. Detroit smash. Boom. The punch struck Gorgrog's shoulder. The demon crashed into the ground. Crack. The stone beneath him shattered. Izuku floated above the crater. Gorgrog slowly stood. He looked up. For the first time, there was no arrogance in his eyes. Only anger. What are you? Izuku lowered himself. Izuku Midoriya. Gorgrog stared. Izuku clenched his fist. And you're not getting anywhere near my friends. The dragon roared behind him. Roar. Gorgrog looked between them. Then he smiled. Very well. Dark energy gathered around his body. Let us see how long your strength lasts. Izuku's danger sense pulsed violently. The battle had only just begun. Gorgrog's dark energy continued spreading across the mountain. Izuku stood several meters away, green lightning flickering around his body. The dragon remained behind him, growling at the demon commander. Gorgrog raised one enormous hand. Dark energy gathered around his fingers. You have impressive strength, mortal. Izuku tightened his fists. Thanks. But strength alone will not save you. Gorgrog slammed his hand into the ground. Boom. Dark energy raced across the stone toward Izuku. Danger sense screamed. Izuku jumped. The ground beneath him exploded. Crack. He activated float and rose higher. Blackwhip shot toward the fortress. He swung around the side of the mountain as another wave of dark energy passed beneath him. Gorgrog followed his movement. Stop running. Izuku glanced back. I'm not running. Gearshift activated. He changed direction instantly. I'm positioning. He accelerated toward Gorgrog. Jin released its stored energy. Green lightning exploded around his legs. Smash. Boom. His fist struck Gorgrog's chest. The demon staggered backward. Izuku followed with another strike. Boom. Then another. Crack. Gorgrog blocked the fourth punch with both arms. The impact still forced him several meters backward. His feet carved deep lines into the stone. Enough. Gorgrog released a burst of dark energy. Izuku was thrown into the air. He twisted and used blackwhip to catch the mountain wall. That one really packs a punch. Gorgrog charged. Izuku pulled himself sideways. The demon's fist smashed into the wall. Boom. Rocks fell from above. Izuku flew through the debris. Danger sense warned him of another attack. He looked up. Gorgrog was already above him. The demon brought both fists down. Izuku crossed his arms. Boom. He was driven toward the ground. The mountain cracked beneath him. Dust covered the area. Gorgrog landed. Have you had enough? A black tendril emerged from the dust. It wrapped around Gorgrog's ankle. Gorgrog looked down. Izuku pulled. The demon lost his balance. Not even close. Izuku launched himself out of the crater. One for all surged through his body. Gearshift accelerated his movement. He struck Gorgrog across the jaw. Boom. The demon flew sideways. Before he could recover, blackwhip wrapped around his torso. Izuku swung him around, then released. Gorgrog crashed into the fortress wall. Boom. The entire entrance shook. The demons watching from below became silent. Izuku landed. He breathed heavily. Stay down. Gorgrog slowly emerged from the rubble. His armor was cracked. He wiped blood from his mouth. Then he laughed. Excellent. Izuku frowned. You're enjoying this. It has been centuries since anyone has challenged me like this. Dark energy surged around Gorgrog. Now I can finally stop holding back. The mountain shook. The dragon spread its wings. Izuku's danger sense became overwhelming. That's a lot of power. Gorgrog roared. Roar. A wave of darkness erupted. Izuku raised both arms. Blackwhip anchored him to the ground. The force pushed him backward. He activated One for All at full power. Green lightning exploded across the mountain. 100%. Boom. The collision between dark energy and One for All created a massive shockwave. Trees bent. Rocks shattered. The demons were thrown away from the fortress. The dragon dug its claws into the ground. Izuku pushed forward. Every muscle in his body strained. Come on. Gorgrog's dark energy pushed back. Fall. Izuku gritted his teeth. No. He released Blackwhip. The tendrils shot toward the fortress walls. He pulled himself forward. Jin activated. Then gearshift. His body suddenly accelerated. The dark energy broke apart around him. Gorgrog's eyes widened. What? Izuku appeared directly in front of him. Detroit smash. Boom. The punch struck Gorgrog's chest. The demon flew backward. He crashed through the fortress entrance. The stone structure collapsed behind him. Crack. Izuku landed in front of the rubble. For several seconds, there was no movement. Then Gorgrog's hand emerged. Izuku raised his guard. But Gorgrog didn't attack. He looked past Izuku, toward the shattered entrance. Dark energy was leaking from inside the fortress. Izuku's danger sense suddenly changed. It wasn't warning him about Gorgrog anymore. It was warning him about something deeper. Gorgrog noticed the change in his expression. You feel it. Izuku looked at him. What's inside? Gorgrog smiled. The reason we came here. Izuku's eyes narrowed. The society. They seek the prison. Gorgrog slowly stood. But they do not understand what they are awakening. Izuku looked toward the dark passage. Then tell me. Gorgrog laughed. Why would I? Izuku clenched his fist. Because if you don't, I'll knock you through the other side of the mountain. The demon stared at him. Then he laughed louder. Roar. Suddenly, a massive explosion came from inside the fortress. Boom. The entire mountain shook. A dark beam shot into the sky. Izuku looked upward. His danger sense screamed. The dragon roared. Roar. Gorgrog's smile disappeared. It's begun. Izuku looked at him. What has? Gorgrog stared toward the sky. The awakening of zzyzx. Izuku's expression hardened. He turned toward the fortress. Then we're going inside. Gorgrog laughed. You cannot stop what is coming. Izuku stepped forward. Watch me. Behind him, the dragon spread its wings. Together, they entered the collapsing fortress. Deep beneath the mountain, something ancient opened its eyes. The fortress continued collapsing around Izuku. Stone fell from the ceiling. Crack. He jumped over a massive piece of rubble and landed inside the deepest chamber. The dragon followed behind him. Gorgrog entered last. The three of them stared at the enormous structure in front of them. A circular stone platform stood in the center of the chamber. Ancient chains surrounded it. Most of them had already broken. Izuku's danger sense was screaming. That's zzyzx. Gorgrog nodded. The prison. Izuku looked at the chains. They're failing. Yes. The dragon growled. Then the final chain snapped. Crack. The entire chamber shook. Boom. A wave of black energy erupted from the platform. Izuku immediately activated blackwhip. The tendrils wrapped around the dragon and Gorgrog. He pulled them away from the center. The wave passed over them. The fortress trembled. Gorgrog looked toward the platform. He's awake. Izuku frowned. Who? A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Mortal. Izuku's eyes widened. The voice wasn't coming from Gorgrog. It was coming from the prison. You have entered my domain. The black energy gathered above the platform. A gigantic silhouette slowly formed. Horns, wings, massive arms, two glowing eyes. Izuku stared upward. That's the Demon King. Gorgrog lowered his head. Yes. The dragon roared. Roar. The Demon King laughed. Even the dragons fear me. Izuku looked at the creature. Then at the dragon. It doesn't look scared. The dragon growled again. Izuku smiled. Yeah. Thought so. The Demon King raised one hand. Dark energy filled the chamber. The stone floor began breaking apart. Izuku activated float. He rose into the air as the ground beneath him disappeared. Blackwhip shot toward the walls. He swung between falling pieces of stone. Gorgrog tried to move. The Demon King's energy slammed him into the ground. Boom. Gorgrog. The demon commander struggled to stand. Do not concern yourself with me. Izuku turned toward the Demon King. Bad news. Green lightning spread across his body. I'm already concerned. He accelerated. Gearshift activated. Izuku flew directly toward the Demon King. The creature raised its hand. A wall of darkness appeared. Izuku punched through it. Boom. The barrier shattered. The Demon King's eyes widened. What? Izuku's fist struck its face. Boom. The impact shook the entire chamber. The Demon King's head snapped backward. Izuku landed on the platform. You talk too much. The Demon King slowly turned his head. The damage on its face began repairing itself. Izuku's expression changed. Regeneration. Gorgrog looked at him. Physical attacks alone will not destroy him. Izuku frowned. Then I'll hit him harder. The Demon King laughed. Foolish mortal. Its wings opened. A wave of darkness exploded outward. Izuku crossed his arms. Boom. He was thrown through the air. Blackwhip caught the wall. He stopped himself. The Demon King flew forward. Izuku's danger sense screamed. He ducked. A massive claw passed over his head. Izuku swung away. Another attack. He dodged. Another. He barely avoided it. The Demon King was much faster than its size suggested. Izuku activated Fa Jin. Energy built inside his body. Gearshift followed. His movement accelerated. He appeared behind the Demon King. Smash. Boom. His fist struck its back. The Demon King crashed into the ground. Crack. The platform shattered. Izuku hovered above it. The Demon King slowly rose. Its body was already healing. Annoying. The creature looked at him. You possess an unusual power. Izuku raised his fists. Thanks. It will not save you. Dark energy gathered around the Demon King. Izuku's danger sense became unbearable. He knew the next attack would be different. Everyone, move. The dragon spread its wings. Gorgrog dragged himself away. The Demon King released everything. Boom. A massive wave of darkness consumed the chamber. Izuku activated One for All at full power. Green lightning exploded around his body. He punched forward. Smash. Boom. The force of his punch collided with the dark wave. The entire chamber shook. The two forces pushed against each other. Izuku's feet slid backward. Come on. He pushed harder. The Demon King's energy continued expanding. Izuku's arms trembled. Then voices appeared inside his mind. Quiet at first, then clearer. Izuku. He froze. Another voice followed. We are here. Izuku's eyes widened. He recognized them. The vestiges. The previous users of One for All. One after another, their presences appeared within his consciousness. Izuku took a breath. You're awake. A familiar voice answered. We have been watching. Another voice followed. This creature is far beyond ordinary. Izuku looked at the Demon King. I noticed. The vestiges gathered around him. Their energy flowed through One for All. Green lightning intensified. The Demon King stared. What is happening? Izuku slowly raised his head. I'm getting some help. One for All surged through his body. The chamber filled with green light. The Demon King's dark wave began pushing backward. Izuku grinned. Your turn. He stepped forward. Boom. The darkness split apart. The Demon King recoiled. Izuku continued advancing. Each step cracked the stone beneath him. You wanted to escape zzyzx. Green lightning exploded around his arms. Then you're going to have to get through me first. The Demon King roared. Roar. Its entire body expanded. The wings spread across the chamber. The walls began collapsing. Izuku stared upward. Okay. He clenched both fists. This is getting bigger than I expected. The dragon roared beside him. Gorgrog raised himself from the rubble. The Demon King charged. Izuku launched forward. Boom. The two forces collided. The shockwave tore through the fortress. Far away, Kendra suddenly looked toward the mountains. The Fablehaven key in Stan's hand began glowing brighter. Kendra's face turned pale. Something's happening. Stan stared at the distant storm. Zzyzx has opened. And deep beneath the mountain, Izuku fought the Demon King as the first pieces of the ancient prison began breaking apart. The collision between Izuku and the Demon King shook the entire fortress. Boom. Izuku was thrown backward. He twisted in the air and caught himself with blackwhip. The Demon King remained in the center of the chamber, surrounded by dark energy. You cannot defeat me, mortal. Izuku wiped blood from the corner of his mouth. Maybe. Green lightning flickered around him. But I'm not fighting alone. The Demon King's eyes narrowed. Inside Izuku's mind, the vestiges of One for All had gathered. One by one, their figures became clearer. Banjo stood beside the others. You're going to need everything you've got. Izuku nodded. I know. Nana looked toward the enormous demon. Its power is different from anything we've encountered. Then we'll adapt. Shinori stepped forward. Danger sense is already reacting to its movements. Use that. Izuku took a breath. Got it. The vestiges began moving. Their energy flowed into One for All. Izuku's body suddenly became surrounded by multiple layers of green lightning. The Demon King noticed the change. "What have you done?" Izuku raised his head. "One for all isn't just my power." Blackwhip erupted from his arms. Float activated. Fa Jin began storing energy. Danger sense mapped every movement around him. Smokescreen spread across the chamber. Then gearshift activated. The Demon King attacked. Izuku disappeared. Boom. He appeared behind the creature. A blackwhip wrapped around its wing. Izuku pulled. The Demon King lost balance. Now, the dragon charged. Roar. Its claws struck the Demon King's side. Boom. The creature staggered. Gorgrog followed with a powerful strike. Crack. The Demon King was driven backward. Izuku flew above them. Fa Jin released its stored energy. Gearshift accelerated his body again. He dropped like a missile. Detroit smash. Boom. The Demon King crashed into the floor. The entire chamber shook. Izuku landed beside the crater. The creature slowly rose. Its regeneration had become slower. Izuku noticed. "It's working." Nana's voice echoed in his mind. "Don't give it time to recover." Izuku nodded. The Demon King roared. Roar. Dark energy exploded outward. Danger sense warned Izuku from every direction. He activated float and moved upward. Blackwhip pulled him between the attacks. One beam passed beneath him. Another shattered a pillar. Crack. Izuku looked down. Too predictable. He accelerated. Gearshift pushed him forward. He struck the Demon King repeatedly. Boom. 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 Each impact forced the creature farther backward. The Demon King finally caught one of his fists. Enough. Its grip tightened. Izuku's bones creaked. "Got you." The Demon King smiled. "You are mine." Izuku smiled back. "No." Blackwhip wrapped around the Demon King's arm. "You're mine." He pulled himself forward. Fa Jin activated. Gearshift changed his speed. Izuku drove his knee into the Demon King's chest. Boom. The creature released him. Izuku spun through the air. The vestiges surged through one for all. Their combined power exploded around him. For a moment, the entire chamber became green. The Demon King stared. "What are you?" Izuku raised his fist. "The ninth user." Then he launched forward. Boom. His punch struck the Demon King's chest. A massive shockwave erupted. The Demon King was thrown through several stone pillars. Crack. Crack. Boom. He crashed against the far wall. The darkness around him flickered. Izuku landed. His breathing was heavy. But he remained standing. The vestiges stayed beside him. Nana smiled. "You've grown strong." Izuku looked at his hands. "I couldn't have done it without all of you." Banjo laughed. "Save the talking for later." Izuku looked up. The Demon King was standing again. But something was different. Cracks of light had appeared across its body. The dark energy leaking from it was weakening. The Demon King looked furious. "You think this changes anything?" Izuku raised his guard. "Yes." The Demon King spread its wings. "Then watch." The remaining chains of zzyzx began breaking. Crack. One after another. Izuku's danger sense screamed. His eyes widened. "That's not good." Gorgrog looked toward the prison. "The seal is collapsing." The dragon roared. Roar. Izuku turned toward the massive stone structure. If the remaining seals broke, the Demon King would no longer be limited to its current form. The vestiges spoke together. "Izuku." He nodded. "I know." He looked at the Demon King. Then at the collapsing prison. "We have to end this now." Green lightning exploded around his body. Gearshift activated. Fa Jin charged. Blackwhip extended behind him. Float lifted him from the ground. One for all surged through every muscle. The Demon King raised its arms. "Come, mortal." Izuku clenched his fist. "I'm coming." He launched forward. Boom. The final battle began. Izuku launched himself toward the Demon King. Boom. The ground shattered beneath his feet. Gearshift accelerated his body beyond anything he had attempted before. Green lightning covered his arms and legs. Jin released its stored energy. Blackwhip stretched behind him, pulling him forward like a second set of muscles. The Demon King raised both hands. Dark energy gathered between its palms. You will not stop me. A massive blast erupted. Boom. Izuku didn't slow down. Danger sense screamed. He tilted his body. The blast passed beside him. Another attack came from the left. He twisted. A third came from above. Blackwhip pulled him downward. The attacks missed by centimeters. Izuku accelerated again. I'm getting closer. Inside his mind, the vestiges watched the battle. Banjo grinned. Then don't waste the opening. Izuku nodded. He released Blackwhip. The tendrils wrapped around the Demon King's wings. Got you. Izuku pulled with everything he had. The Demon King was dragged forward. Its feet tore through the stone. Crack. Release me. Izuku flew directly toward it. Jin activated. Gearshift changed his acceleration again. One for all surged through his entire body. Smash. Boom. His fist struck the Demon King's chest. The creature was thrown backward. But before it could recover, Izuku grabbed its arm with Blackwhip. He swung it around. Boom. The Demon King crashed into the ground. Izuku released it. The creature rolled across the broken platform. For several seconds, it didn't move. Then it stood. Its body was covered in cracks. Dark energy leaked from them. But it was still standing. You cannot defeat me with brute force. Izuku landed. Then I'll use more. The Demon King roared. Roar. Its body expanded. Dark wings filled the chamber. The remaining walls began collapsing. Gorgrog grabbed a fallen pillar and threw it aside. The entire fortress is coming down. Izuku looked at the ceiling. Then everyone needs to get out. The dragon spread its wings. Gorgrog nodded. We will evacuate. Izuku looked toward the Demon King. I'll keep it busy. Gorgrog stared at him. Alone. Izuku smiled. I've got 8 people in my head. The Demon King attacked. Gorgrog and the dragon moved away. Izuku flew upward. The Demon King followed. They burst through the collapsing ceiling. Boom. Both emerged above the mountain. Dark clouds covered the sky. The Demon King hovered above the ruins. Izuku floated several meters away. Below them, the fortress continued collapsing. The Demon King raised both hands. This world will become my kingdom. Izuku looked down. Far away, he could see the sanctuary. Kendra, Seth, Stan. He clenched his fist. Not happening. The Demon King released a massive wave of darkness. Izuku activated smokescreen. The black cloud swallowed the battlefield. The Demon King looked around. Where are you? Danger sense guided Izuku through the darkness. Blackwhip wrapped around the Demon King's wing. Izuku pulled himself closer. Gearshift activated. The Demon King turned. Too late. Izuku struck its face. Boom. The Demon King staggered. Another punch. Boom. Another. Boom. Each strike pushed it higher into the sky. The Demon King attempted to counterattack. Izuku dodged. Danger sense warned him before every movement. Gearshift accelerated him between attacks. Jin stored more energy with every movement. The Demon King became increasingly frustrated. Stop moving. Izuku grinned. Catch me first. The Demon King swung its arm. Izuku ducked. Blackwhip pulled him underneath. He spun around and kicked the Demon King upward. Boom. The creature flew into the clouds. Izuku followed. The vestiges gathered around him. Nana spoke. Izuku. Yeah, it's time. Izuku looked at his fist. All the accumulated energy from Jin surged through his body. Gearshift pushed his speed higher. One for all reached its limit. Green lightning covered the entire sky. The Demon King emerged from the clouds. What are you doing? Izuku raised his fist. Ending this. The vestiges stood behind him. Their power merged with one for all. Izuku's eyes hardened. United States of Smash. The Demon King roared. Roar. Darkness exploded from its body. Izuku flew forward. Boom. The collision created a massive shockwave. The clouds split apart. The air itself seemed to bend around his fist. The Demon King's dark energy pushed against him. Izuku continued forward. This is for Fablehaven. He pushed harder. For Kendra. The darkness cracked. For Seth. Crack. Another section shattered. For everyone you threatened. Izuku's fist finally broke through. Boom. The United States of Smash struck the Demon King directly in the chest. A gigantic shockwave spread across the sky. The Demon King's body began breaking apart. Crack, crack, crack. Dark energy scattered like smoke. No. The Demon King reached toward Izuku. I will not return to the prison. Izuku grabbed its arm. You're going back. He pulled the creature toward the shattered zzyzx seal. Blackwhip wrapped around its body. Izuku activated gearshift one final time. Now, he slammed the Demon King downward. Boom. The creature crashed into the center of the broken prison. The ancient seals suddenly activated. Bright energy erupted from beneath it. The Demon King screamed. Roar. Its body was dragged downward. Izuku landed on the edge of the prison. The Demon King struggled. Mortal. Izuku stood over the collapsing seal. Stay down. The final piece of the seal closed. Boom. Silence followed. The dark clouds began disappearing. The wind calmed. Izuku remained standing, breathing heavily. Inside his mind, the vestiges slowly faded back. Banjo laughed. Nice punch. Izuku smiled weakly. Thanks. Nana looked toward the sealed prison. It isn't completely closed. Izuku's smile disappeared. He looked down. Thin cracks of dark energy still remained around the seal. Then we're not finished. Far away, Kendra held the glowing Fablehaven key. Its light suddenly intensified. Stan looked toward the mountains. The seal is damaged. Kendra tightened her grip. Can it be repaired? Stan nodded. With the right magic. Izuku looked toward the sanctuary. Blackwhip extended behind him. Then let's fix it. He launched himself into the sky. The battle was over, but the final seal had yet to be restored. Izuku flew back toward the sanctuary. His body was exhausted. Green lightning still flickered weakly around his arms, but One for All had finally settled after the battle. Below him, the forest was unusually quiet. Then danger sense pulsed. Not from an enemy. From the mountain. Izuku stopped in midair. The broken prison of zzyzx was still visible in the distance. Thin streams of dark energy were rising from the cracks. So it's still leaking. He turned toward the sanctuary. I need Kendra. Izuku landed near the main house. Kendra and Seth were waiting with Stan. The moment Izuku touched the ground, Seth ran toward him. You beat the Demon King. Izuku smiled. We did. Kendra looked at the sky behind him. But the seal, it's damaged. Stan's expression became serious. Then we have very little time. Kendra immediately pulled out the Fablehaven key. The artifact glowed brightly in her hand. Can this repair it? Stan shook his head. The key can help restore the boundary, but it needs enough energy to reconnect the broken seal. Kendra looked at Izuku. Can One for All do that? Izuku looked toward the mountains. I don't know. He paused. But we can try. They returned to zzyzx as quickly as possible. Izuku carried Kendra and Seth with Blackwhip while using float. Stan followed with several sanctuary guardians. The damaged prison appeared beneath them. Dark cracks spread across the stone. Kendra landed beside the central seal. This is where the energy is escaping. Izuku crouched beside her. What do you need me to do? Kendra pointed toward several ancient symbols. The seal needs energy from 3 points. Izuku looked around. I can reach all 3. Stan immediately shook his head. Don't use too much power. The seal isn't designed to contain an energy source like yours. Izuku nodded. Then I'll control it. He stepped toward the first symbol. One for all activated. Green lightning appeared around his arm. He placed his palm against the stone. A surge of energy entered the seal. Boom. The first symbol lit up. Kendra moved toward the second. It's working. Izuku moved to the third. He used blackwhip to anchor himself to the surrounding pillars. Then he released a controlled amount of one for all. Green energy flowed through the ancient symbols. The cracks began closing. Crack. Dark energy escaped from the remaining opening. Danger sense activated. Izuku immediately turned. Something still inside. Kendra froze. The Demon King. No. Izuku stared at the crack. Something smaller. A shadow suddenly emerged. Izuku grabbed it with blackwhip. The creature struggled. Roar. Seth stepped backward. What is that? Izuku pulled the creature closer. It was a small demon, barely larger than a dog. It hissed at him. Izuku sighed. One escaped. Stan raised his staff. Destroy it. Izuku looked at the creature. It was frightened. He shook his head. Wait. The creature tried to attack. Izuku caught it easily. You're not getting near anyone. He used blackwhip to restrain it without hurting it. Kendra continued working on the seal. The energy is dropping. Izuku looked toward the prison. Then I'll give it more. He stepped forward. One for all surged through his body. Green lightning spread across the entire platform. The remaining cracks began closing. Boom. The seal flashed. The demon creature screamed. Roar. Then the darkness disappeared. Silence returned. Kendra stared at the completed seal. It's closed. Stan approached slowly. He touched the stone. Nothing happened. Permanently. Seth smiled. We actually did it. Izuku lowered his arm. His legs suddenly became weak. Kendra caught his shoulder. Are you okay? Izuku nodded. Just tired. Seth looked at him. You fought a demon king, flew across the sky, and repaired a magical prison. Izuku laughed quietly. When you say it like that, it sounds exhausting. Kendra smiled. Because it was. The group began walking away from the prison. Behind them, the final traces of darkness disappeared. The magical veil surrounding Fablehaven slowly restored itself. The sky cleared. The forest became calm again. Izuku looked around. Magical creatures cautiously returned to their hiding places. Some watched him from between the trees. Others flew overhead. He smiled. This place really is strange. Kendra walked beside him. You've only been here a short time. I know. She looked at him. Are you still planning to go home? Izuku became quiet. He looked at the sky. Somewhere beyond it was his own world. His friends. His school. His life. But the dimensional crack that brought him here had disappeared. He didn't know when another one would open. Eventually. Kendra nodded. Until then. Izuku looked toward the sanctuary. Then at the creatures surrounding it. He smiled. I guess I have a job. Seth grinned. You're staying. Izuku shrugged. For now. A distant roar echoed through the forest. Roar. Izuku immediately looked toward the sound. Danger sense remained silent. He relaxed. See. Seth laughed. You're already learning the place. Izuku smiled. For the first time since arriving in Fablehaven, he felt like he wasn't simply trapped in another world. He had found somewhere worth protecting. And far above the trees, the magical veil shimmered brightly. The sanctuary was safe again. At least for now. Morning arrived quietly at Fablehaven. Sunlight passed through the trees and illuminated the sanctuary. The magical creatures had returned to their usual places. Fairies flew between the branches. Small creatures moved through the grass. Even the larger beasts seemed calmer after the events surrounding zzyzx. Izuku stood near the edge of the forest. He looked toward the mountains. The prison was completely sealed. No dark energy remained. His danger sense was quiet. For once, There was nothing threatening him. Seth walked up behind him. "You're leaving." Izuku turned. "Not yet." Seth smiled. "Good." Kendra joined them. She carried the Fablehaven key. Its glow had returned to normal. "Stan wants to see you." Izuku nodded. "Okay." The main sanctuary was filled with people. Sanctuary guardians had gathered from different areas. Several knights stood near the entrance. Magical creatures watched from outside. Stan stood in the center. When Izuku entered, everyone became silent. Stan looked at him. "Izuku Midoriya." Izuku stopped. "Yes." Stan smiled. "You arrived here as a stranger." He gestured toward the gathered guardians. "You fought creatures you had never seen before, protected our people, defeated Gorgrog, confronted the Demon King, and helped restore the seal of zzyzx." Izuku scratched the back of his head. "I just did what needed to be done." One of the guardians stepped forward. "That's exactly why we are here." The guardian raised a small silver emblem. "The Sanctuary Council has reached its decision." Izuku looked at the emblem. Stan accepted it. "From this day forward, you will be recognized as the Eternal Guardian." Izuku blinked. "The Eternal Guardian." Seth grinned. "That's a pretty cool title." Kendra laughed. "Very fitting." Izuku looked slightly embarrassed. "I don't know if I deserve something like that." Stan shook his head. "You didn't ask for the title." He handed Izuku the emblem. "That's why you deserve it." Izuku accepted it. The silver emblem immediately glowed. A faint green light surrounded his hand. Izuku stared at it. "What is this?" Stan smiled. "Recognition." Later that afternoon, Izuku stood outside the sanctuary. Kendra and Seth sat nearby. The dragon rested farther away beneath a large tree. Izuku looked at the sky. "I still don't know how I got here." Kendra looked at him. "Maybe the portal brought you here for a reason." Izuku smiled. "Maybe." He raised his hand. Green lightning flickered between his fingers. One for all remained as powerful as ever. The vestiges were quiet inside his mind. But he could still feel them. He wasn't alone. Seth suddenly stood. "Hey, Izuku." "Yeah, show us the flying thing again." Kendra sighed. "Seth, what? You've already seen it. I want to see it again." Izuku laughed. "Fine." He activated float. His feet lifted from the ground. Blackwhip shot toward a nearby tree. He swung upward. Seth cheered. "Awesome." Kendra watched him with a smile. Izuku released Blackwhip. He floated above the trees. For a moment, he simply looked across Fablehaven. This world was completely different from his own. There were no skyscrapers, no hero rankings, no support companies. Instead, there were dragons, fairies, demons, enchanted objects, and ancient sanctuaries. Yet the responsibility felt familiar. Someone needed help. Someone needed protection. And he was here. A sudden crack appeared in the sky. Izuku immediately stopped. Danger sense activated. Kendra stood. "What is that?" Izuku stared at the distortion. A thin line of light appeared between the clouds. Crack. The portal widened. Wind rushed through the forest. Whoosh. Izuku's eyes widened. "That's a dimensional rift." Stan hurried outside. "Everyone, stay back." The portal stabilized. Izuku felt something familiar on the other side. His own world. He could see faint shapes through the opening. Buildings. Roads. A city. His city. Izuku stared. "Home." Seth looked at him. "Are you going?" Izuku didn't answer immediately. Kendra approached. "You don't have to decide right away." Izuku looked at her. "I know." He glanced toward the sanctuary. Then at the magical creatures. Then back toward the portal. His danger sense remained silent. The portal wasn't hostile. It was simply an opportunity. Izuku smiled. "I'll go back." Seth's expression dropped. "Oh." Izuku placed a hand on his shoulder. "But I'll come back." Seth looked up. "Really? Really?" Kendra smiled. "We'll hold you to that." Izuku nodded. He turned toward the portal. Then stopped. He looked back at Fablehaven one last time. Thank you. Stan smiled. You are always welcome here. The dragon raised its head. Roar. Izuku laughed. Yeah. I'll miss you too. He stepped toward the portal. Green lightning surrounded his body. One for all pulsed through him. Blackwhip wrapped around his arm. He looked back at Kendra and Seth. Take care of the sanctuary. Seth grinned. You take care of your world. Izuku nodded. Then he jumped. Whoosh. His body passed through the dimensional rift. The portal closed behind him. Silence returned to the forest. Kendra stared at the empty sky. Do you think he'll really come back? Stan looked toward the horizon. He will. Seth smiled. He better. Far beyond Fablehaven, Izuku flew through the dimensional space. He could already see the light of his world ahead. For the first time since falling through the original portal, he knew where he was going. But Fablehaven was no longer just another world. It was a place he had protected. A place where he had found friends. And somewhere beyond the veil, an eternal guardian now had two worlds worth protecting.
Alright, now that we've gone through the entire story, let's move on to the key educational lessons and takeaways hidden within it. True guardianship means protecting all forms of life. Deku's crossover journey into Fablehaven teaches us that true strength is meant to shield, unite, and preserve, rather than dominate. Even when dropped into an unfamiliar world governed by strange magic and dangerous monsters, Deku uses his overwhelming power not to conquer, but to uphold balance, respect nature, and protect the innocent, proving that a genuine hero adapts to any realm with responsibility, empathy, and courage. Maybe that's all for today's video. Like if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment if you have any title suggestions for the next video. Alright, that's it, and see you in the next video.